Yay! Hi, Potato. Potato and I have been working on the Most Loyal book, and he
Oh,
sent me a
nice.
clip that is freaking great.
Yes.
Yeah, he does a really good Varix. Good morning, Jonathan. How is it over the pond, over on the other side?
Mhm.
Yes. I can't do the gravelly guttural thing.
Where did I put? Oh, I put the notes on the mind map this week, didn't I? Because
Yes.
I like being.
Contrary.
I just my brain is all over the place right now. Been
When?
dealing with federal auditors for work, and it's just.
Yeah.
Ugh. But I'm done. I got it all done, so like everyone was happy, and I was like, I'm done with this group project. Leave me alone. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to see it ever again. Okay, so I got. Oh, okay, yeah. So I don't really have. I just have the
Oh
links.
my goodness. Let's see.
Oh,
So, okay. Do you want to use regular show notes at all?
we
Or
can.
do you want to just. Okay.
I mean,
Because I'm just trying to. Yeah, I know. Um,
there's not really any this week because I was just absolutely swamped.
that's okay. I was just trying to figure out if I could probably sneak in some things real quick.
Yeah, just toss them in. Yeah, just toss them right there where you have it highlighted. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to just be is was. Did you remember? Did Justin say that he was going to try to jump on?
Oh, yeah, we've got top three. I didn't even think about that. Crap! I didn't even think about my own stuff. What was top three something, obviously? Favorite
Family
family movies
moments
or
and
family moments and
moments and
traditions.
yeah.
Okay.
Hey Rexy. Ugh.
Hey guys, Rexy, I'm sorry I wasn't able to answer your last one, your last question that you had earlier. I will try to get that knocked out here fairly quick. All the stream questions.
Hmm.
He was asking about how to set up essentially
Oh,
a stream. Let me
very
find it real
carefully.
quick. Don't know how to connect a camera to your Xbox without either using my old Connect or a capture card. I think that's really the way to do it because if you use
Yeah.
your PC
I
and you
don't.
have a capture
Yeah.
card, you use a webcam.
Yep. I don't use short for the Xbox. I don't. Hang on real quick. I'd probably be able to. Are you using I'm a. So you're streaming from the Xbox. That's Mixer.
Mhm. Oh yeah. No, you're good. We'll try to help you like
No, no,
with
no,
how
no.
we
Yeah.
can.
Give me 2 seconds. I can look it up.
The way I have
Streaming
mine set up
camera. Yeah,
is I have
I can't answer the Xbox question because I have it all set up through my PC.
yeah, you can do it from your Connect. I don't think there's another way to capture um I used to do it that way where I had my Connect being my face cam. I don't think there's another way to do it. Like I don't think you can connect a
So
webcam to it.
Mixer. So assuming I'm assuming. Okay, so you're using Twitch.
Okay.
Twitch. I don't know. Hang on, give me 2 seconds. I know with Mixer they rolled out a package, or they rolled out support for webcams. Um, I think it was back in 2017. It looks like it's a USB webcam. Um, so go. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through this help article real quick. All right, so yeah, they use the Logitech C922, which is, I think that's just
722 is one of the one before the 1080, isn't it?
okay, because I think I have the 1080. I think.
I have the
Um,
1080 as well.
okay, yeah. The C290 something. Yeah. Anyways,
Mhm.
this one is a C922, so it is a USB. So you have to have a USB webcam. That is the big thing. Now, what you do is you want to basically on your Xbox, you hook up the webcam into one of the USB slots in the back. Obviously, the Xbox One should automatically set up the device. It's 99% plug and play. So basically, you connect the webcam to the USB port. You're not going to get any display, so just don't worry when that happens. And then what you want to do is scroll down real quick. Shortcoming. Okay, so there is no microphone support through the webcam. Just heads up on there.
But if he's doing it through his headset, it
Yeah,
should be
yeah, it
fine.
should be fine. Yeah, you'll need to use an Xbox One headset or external microphone. Okay, once your webcam has been connected, you'll want to enable. Oh, hey, thanks, Barely ADS. Once your webcam has
Hey.
been connected, you'll want to enable your camera for it to be displayed as part of your live stream. Now, granted, this is for Mixer. I think I haven't streamed directly from the console for a long while, so I'm not 100% familiar with how they've changed it. But what you want to do for this piece, and you can try it for Twitch. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it will work. But press your Xbox button to open your guide menu. Go to the broadcast and capture tab, and then go down to broadcast, which should open up some options, and you should see a switch labeled turn on camera. That should that should turn on the camera, and then you should be able to also, depending on the webcam model that you have, you should be able to actually configure the overlay with like zoom and positioning. It should be all under change camera settings, which is also in that menu. So that entire thing should be there to do. Now the only trick is Mixer. The reason why I was asking is Mixer has it set so that you can actually just embed overlays on your console.
Yes.
That is one of the benefits, and Mixer also is like for
Is
console streaming. I have to say Mixer is really good, especially for Xbox console
latency.
streaming. The
Hmm.
latency is like non-existent basically, which is
Hey,
really
Trigger.
nice. Um, but for Twitch, I don't know if they've embedded the ability to do overlays from the console. Like I said, I run everything through my PC, so I have Streamlabs set up on my PC, and that's where I do 90% of the heavy lifting for the streams. Um, but yeah, let me know if that doesn't. Here, let me see if I can grab the. Yeah, let me grab this link for you real quick. So Rexy, that link, if you scroll down about halfway, that's going to show you where to put in the webcam. But like I said, this is for Mixer. I do Twitch. Let's see how to stream. Oh, maybe I. Yeah, well, and the one of the reasons is like PC just has like a ton of it's just more
Advantages?
versatile. It's just more versatile, but
Yeah.
it also does come. I mean, that's the pro. The con is that you have to have a PC that can manage quite a few different tasks at the same time. I'm trying to see. It looks like with the Twitch thing, it might only be able to be done through the Kinect sensor, but I don't know because this article. Oh, this article is as of February 2018.
2018. I mean, that's not that terribly long ago in the
No,
grand scheme of things,
that's
but
right. That's what I'm saying is like this one is saying, yeah, this one says the same thing. It says if you want to show, like, if you want to use a camera for Twitch, the only option is Microsoft's Connect camera. You go into Twitch settings menu and select Enable Connect to get your camera feed going. However, if you're willing to stream from Mixer instead of Twitch, you'll have a lot more camera options. Microsoft streaming platform supports just about any USB webcam in Xbox One. Yeah, another USB. Yeah, so you might be limited. If you have a Kinect sensor, that's going to be the easiest answer, because I know, like, obviously Twitch will have that option from the console. But yeah, it looks like that's... I think that might be the most recent. Though it looks like that might be... Hang on, I'm trying...
frame rate? Oh my goodness. Let's see. All right. I was going to pull up my script to do the introduction, but I have not done that yet.
That's fine. I'm still trying to figure out if you can do this, because now I'm like really curious if you can.
No startup?
Ooh, that's not
Oh,
fun.
you're gross. He's got it to work, apparently.
Hashtag.
Thanks, Black Flag.
Pew pew.
You subscribed for
wait.
19
Pew,
months.
pew.
Like
oh,
a
hey,
boss.
thanks, Black Flag.
And Rexy, thank you for the 3-month sub.
Yeah, thanks, Rexy. Rexy, it does actually look... So Twitch has a help article
Pew, pew.
out here.
Choo, choo.
Let me grab this link for you, too. That one mentions that it is Kinect or another camera. So that might have been updated. Because, I mean... to be honest, the limitations for the console streaming for the Twitch platform is more of because to be blunt, Microsoft has got a competing network, so they're not gonna be like super gung ho about pushing the boundaries on letting that stuff work smoothly, I guess is the easiest way. But it does look like Twitch. I mean, they mentioned
Pew, pew.
Kinect or another
Choo,
camera.
choo.
And then they reference webcam throughout the whole thing. So you might be good to go if you have a USB webcam. That might be fine. Thanks, Wicked.
Yeah, thanks for the sub.
What's up, Guardian?
Sure, why not hops on the bandwagon? And Pins with the bits. Oh my gosh, Pins comes in strong. Slams the door open.
He's got to recover his health from all those subs that I keep getting.
Oh my god, right?
Oh no.
Can't stay. Oh, that's okay. No worries. You got school in the morning?
I'll make up stuff about Ultron.
God. You're in bit duty and random Halo facts. Right by cheers. Thanks, Pens. Bam bam. Ba-choo choo. Oh, I forgot a bam.
Drive by cheer.
Well, get some rest. Have fun.
Oh yeah,
at
that's
class.
right. He has class. That's right. I forgot about that. But yeah, Rexy, just let me know if that stuff doesn't work, because I'd be interested. And I have, since I joined up with the Xbox ambassadors, I kind of have a few more resources now to kind of ping technical questions off of. If that needs to be done, I can try to dig up some stuff on that side as well.
Big hugs. Grunt birthday party noises. I got to experience it for the first time doing the raid a couple months ago.
What, the Gromp birthday party? Oh.
Yay!
Oh, that's right, because it's the one of the wish. Have they figured out the 15th wish?
I don't think so. I think that's still kind of a mystery. A mystery for everyone. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think they've done that one yet. I haven't seen anything on it. Thank you, Traeger, for the verification.
Thanks, Drew. Okay.
Can I just say I love the beginning of this book so much?
Which book?
Forsaken Prince.
Oh, yes.
I love this story between Julian and
Yeah. I think it does a really good job of humanizing Aldrin too.
Yeah, I do too, and I actually kind of almost want to like read through it.
I think that's
almost. But the thing is it lasts quite a while. It doesn't switch to Aldrin's interaction with Mara until after the heart, which is quite a ways down.
Mm-hmm. What's the other thing I'm saying? Oh, yeah, okay.
The description of the cabal with the seeds in its face was awesome.
Yeah, the strawberry.
Mm-hmm.
I still like oh my gosh, I just want to know what was going on with him. Like, I just love the fact that the cabal just like popped its head or popped its helmet off. Was like, look, and he's like, he dies because he basically kills himself.
Oh, and his descent into the terrible aspect. Man. How long did it take you to record this one?
However long however long it is times 2, basically.
Okay.
Is roughly how long it took. Because this is the one that I did a lot of different voices on.
Mm-hmm. All right. Whenever you are ready for top 3, okay. I am ready for top 3. I will just mute my rock in the background so I'm not like randomly getting into that rhythm instead. Instead of the chipper voice.
All right, recording whenever you're ready.
Welcome to FFC Top 3, a show where we, your FFC hosts, count things down from 3 to number 1. Thank you for joining us this week. If you have a suggestion for top 3, you know where to drop the notes. Twitter, Discord, at FocusFireChat, or at FocusFireChat@gmail.com. This week, Blue and I, because it is the two of us, just the two of us, are going to discuss our top 3 favorite memories or traditions, like family memories or family traditions. So be ready for some embarrassing stories on my end. I don't know what Blue's got up his sleeve, but it's gonna be fuel for some of you, I'm sure. Don't come at me, bro. Blue, you want to start us?
Yeah, so my number 3 is actually when I was growing up, and I've mentioned this once, I think once or twice. But one of my things growing up was we'd always take a week every year and go to a cabin out in Estes Park.
Mm-hmm.
And so for those of you who don't know, Estes Park is like right in the backyard of the Rocky Mountains. Like it's literally like Rocky Mountain National Park is basically right there. And so we just always would have like a week growing up. We would be out there, doing stuff in the national park, hiking all around that area. And just growing up, that was just a huge, like, I don't know, like it just really kind of secured in my brain the importance of being out in nature and stuff like that. And just I guess the powerful ability of nature just to kind of help relax and then also just, I don't know, it really opens your eyes being out in the middle of just unfiltered natural events. I just remember a lot of like, snowstorms or just storms or, just like different stuff just going on. And just being able to see it without any, I don't know, any filter, I guess, would really be the easiest way to say it. And I don't
Lens
think
between you and it.
Yeah. And I think that's sadly missing in a lot of people's kind of worlds today because of the growing reliance on technology. It's not necessarily 100% negative because, there's definitely a thing to be said about the sharing of information and the quickness of which the information, and the protection that has given people. But
Right.
At the same time, it also does disconnect people from kind of what I think the wonder of the natural world does provide. But yeah, so growing up, that was just one of the huge things that we did as a family pretty much every year.
In the
that was
taffy shop.
yeah, the
Taffy shop
saltwater
is
taffy.
amazing.
Actually, you know what?
Mm.
If anyone out there even ever has a chance, I mean, just if you ever have a chance to visit Estes Park, I mean, I would strongly recommend it. But like
Fair
seriously,
warning.
yeah, fair warning, you're going to lose a lot of money because you're going to buy a lot of stuff. But it's
And
also
busy during the summer.
it is so busy. But it's so, like, I was just going to say, like, give yourself if you do visit, give yourself a day or two to seriously just walk around the town, like the down. I think it's the downtown area. I think technically is the thing, but it's
There's
the best
lots of
thing.
sites there.
Yeah, it's like it's a very small town feel. It reminds me a lot of the hot springs in Arkansas. It's like a really, like, they've managed to keep that small town feel very, very strong, and it's a very cozy area, it feels like, but at the same time it still has, or at least when we were there, it still has like a lot of the luxuries of, like, it's not like a city, but it's not it's not like a one-stop shop town either.
Oh no. I mean, there's like a Dillon's there, but they also have the hotel that Stephen King based The Shining off of is there, which is really cool. And there's like
Is it in Estes Park? I thought it was.
It
it's
is.
Not, is it in Estes?
Or not Shining.
Like Estes? No, because it was.
It's one of his books. Let me
it's not
look
The
it up.
Shining. You said that, and I'm blanking on it.
Estes Park, Stephen King. Let's see here. Terrible. Yeah, it is The Shining. The muse for Stephen King's The Shining, a colonial revival landmark built by an interpreter. Yeah, it's up there. And there's actual there's a cocktail place you can go to if you're not staying there. Really good cocktail bar that does prohibition style cocktails that are themed around thing.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, there's just
the Stanley,
and then the Stanley, that's right. But like, yeah, if anyone is looking for like just a really peaceful place to go for a vacation, and it's not, you're able to do it, I would really recommend, if you haven't been to Estes Park, to definitely check it out.
The other thing that, I mean, he mentioned Rocky Mountain National Park.
Yeah.
If you go, there's a very, not a small window necessarily, but a very particular window that you have to be there if you're going to want to go all the way up to the main observatory area, which is at,
I remember,
14,000?
Yeah,
oh, no, 13.
And it's worth it.
Yes, it is.
It is so worth it.
Summertime, early fall, late spring. Like, it almost has to be summertime because a lot of those roads up there they're closed off
There's a good reason
because
they get
snow,
closed off.
lots of snow.
Even driving up in the summer, I
Mhm.
remember sometimes getting like going through like 10 foot, 15 foot, like 20 foot, and I mean just massive drifts, like because
Yeah.
they'll carve them out, right? And it's
Yeah.
just oh my gosh, yeah.
But it is
The
super, super
national
pretty.
park is just so great.
And there's lots of different hiking trails and lakes and all sorts of different things. It's one of Julie's and my favorite places to go to when we kind of take a weekend vacation because we're not too far from there now, which is nice. But my number 3 is actually a bit of a funny. My family, I've always been really, really interested in music, love singers, love listening to singers, love different types of singers. I got into American Idol when American Idol came out. And if anybody remembers this particular gentleman who went on American Idol, and sang She Bangs by Ricky Martin and was very out of tune, um, became an instant hit because, people love memes, and he was like a meme for that show for so long. Anyway, my family was very cruel to me multiple Christmases in a row, and for about 6 years, it was a joke that they would give me the same CD by Mr. William Hung for Christmas in my stocking every year. I tried to throw the thing away. Finally, at year 6, I ended up breaking the stupid CD because I'm like, I am done with this joke. Stop it. So bad. So bad. But yeah, that's my number 3. It's such a like, they love giving me crap. And that's one of the nice things about family is they can give you crap and it becomes a funny memory. But man, I was so mad year after year getting that in my stocking. Oh my goodness. But Blue, please tell me your family wasn't that cruel to you.
So my number 2 is no, actually, my number 2 is so growing up, I grew up on a ranch, so horses were kind of an everyday, like that was just part of life. And one of the things that we'd always go on trail rides, like that was big, like just every weekend we were probably riding somewhere. But one of the things that we always did was, as part of and growing up in Texas, there's a lot of like the Fort Worth Stock Show, the Austin Stock Show. Like there's a lot of different stock shows, which it's basically a giant showing of all the livestock in the area for the purposes of selling them. It's a huge thing. And one of the things that we'd also often do is we would get on a trail ride that would ride, about 120, 150 miles over the course of, I think it was like 5 days or 6 days. We'd start in a small town and ride down to Austin. And the entire point of it was really to help raise like awareness of what was going on, and then also just as an excuse for everyone to kind of get together for a week. But that was one of the things that we did growing up. And it's just always been something that I've just always had there in my experience and have always looked back fondly on, just because for a host of reasons. But yeah, so that was like a yearly thing. I think we started doing that. I want to say we started doing that when I was around like 6th or 7th grade, all the way up until I graduated high school, pretty much. And that was just like I said, it was every year we would get everybody loaded up, and then for about a week or so we were just out on the roads, just on horses, just riding back and forth.
How long a day did you ride? Because
we'd get up
I've ridden horses. You get kind of a weird gait after riding horses if you're not used to it.
If you're not used to it, yeah. We would usually, for the most part, you would usually wake up most of us would wake up about 5 or 6, get everything ready. We'd probably ride out around usually 7 or 8, and then we'd get done with the day's ride at about, I want to say usually 5 or 6 that evening. Ideally, you still wanted to have enough time to get everything set up for camp and everything. But yeah, it was usually 10, 12 hour day. We'd stop, obviously you stop for lunch and stuff like that, but
Right.
I mean, and
That's
it
a long time
was,
to be on horses.
well, and I mean, the other thing is like, we also had I think we had 30 wagons at the height of it.
Right.
So there was like, for the really younger kids, if they weren't up to riding all day, which a lot of them weren't. I mean, and for exactly what you're saying, it's a very hard thing to do. There were wagons that a lot of families had that they had set up the back. I mean, and wagons, like these wagons are just like crazy. But they had them set up so that the kids could like play in the back and stuff like that. Like they had board games and cards and, different activities for the kids to just kind of entertain themselves. Because the other thing is like, a little kid's they're not gonna sit still. Like that's just not
Right.
them.
I just have a hard time seeing you as a cowboy.
I never said I was a cowboy. I rode horses and I trained them.
That's right. That just screams like
I
Old
didn't have
West type
cows.
thing
I had
to me a little
horses.
bit. That's fine. It's still cowboy in my mind.
Well, and
really
it was
weird.
funny because like one of the long-standing jokes with our family is the fact that other than the first year that we went on that, I never got to ride my horse during the entire week while we were doing stuff because
Why is that?
Well, because what turned out is everyone figured out after the first year that I was there that I was willing to put up with any horse, and I was really good at breaking horses as far as like getting them to behave. So it was pretty much nonstop me trading other people, and I never got to ride my horse. That is because he was so well trained that he just would follow with everybody.
Right.
And so like it was constantly like the group that we rode with was constantly giving my mom grief about, what horse is he on now? Which I have no idea. Where is he? I have no idea. Is he alive? I have no idea. Like it's just like because I mean most of the horses were pretty well behaved, but I was also like I also did farrier work. So if we had issues there, I had all the gear to put out. Like so it was a lot of last minute emergencies, fixing stuff, which now that I think about it is not very different from what I do now. Just I do it with technology now.
Nice. Gosh. I mean, I just can't even imagine being on a horse that long. We had miniatures mainly, but we did have a few quarter horses that we'd ride around on. But
well, and my horse at the time, this is the horse who actually just recently passed away. We had him when he was born. So he was born at our ranch in McKinney, and I started training him like immediately. And so by the time he was ready to go, he was a Tennessee Walker mix with like a thoroughbred. So he was a huge horse. But he also thought he was like a Chihuahua lapdog. Like it was just hilarious.
Nice.
But he was the one that you could like completely control via your knees. Like you didn't have to have a bridle because we had trained him that way.
Those.
Well, because we
so
raised
nice
him, we raised him to be trail riding, or like we didn't do show or anything like that with him. It was just 100% trail riding. So that's one of the big things is like you need your hands when you're doing stuff. So like everyone who then rode him, they wouldn't get off him.
Oh my goodness!
It was. I just remember one. Like I think it was like one of the later rides. I remember I was having to calm down this one lady's Arabian, who like Arabians they're just skittish. Like there's just by nature, they're just very skittish horses, and hers was not doing very well. And I remember riding past my mom and this other friend of ours, and he was giving her grief. He's like, God, and that kid just doesn't know how to put his tack on, blah blah blah, because like the saddle was all just jacked up. And it was
Oh,
because I
no.
had literally jumped from my horse to this horse because this horse was thrown this other lady off. So I had
Uh-huh.
literally not even touched the ground. I had gotten onto this horse. My mom's like, for the record, that's not his horse. I don't even know whose horse that is.
Dang.
So, and he's like,
You're
oh,
just jumping
okay.
on saving this random
Yeah,
person.
he was like, oh, okay, never mind. She's like, I don't know where
Jeez.
his horse is.
Oh, gosh. God, man, makes me miss the farm a little bit. Just a little bit. We were a working farm, so not as much of having horses and being able to enjoy them as much as moving pipe
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, we
But
we helped out a couple like we lived down the street from a couple cattle farms, so we definitely had our own
mhm,
moments of like, oh well, we gotta go help them, run through
mhm,
stuff. So
yeah. So, kind of a little bit along your point, you were talking about for your number two with the writing and stuff like that. Mine has to do with being in Kansas, growing up in Kansas, and the fact that Kansas is flat and doesn't
what?
get snow very often.
It's totally got small
On
molehills
on the East Coast, or on the East Coast,
on
on
the
the
East
east side of
Coast.
it. Yeah, East Coast. No, no, I grew up in Southwest Kansas, which is about as flat as you can possibly get, and it was terrible. But my one of my most vivid memories, one of my most early vivid memories, was we had snow, pretty decent amount of snow come down when I was around 4 or 5 years old, and you don't go sledding in Kansas because there's no hills. Um, I've still to this day have never officially gone sledding, and I am 31 now? No, 32. I'm 32 now. Math is hard. But yeah, my grandpa decided he was going to take the hood off of this old junk car that he was working on, chain it to a four-wheeler,
This is
and and he owned the lot next to his house. So he basically had me and my mother on this car hood hanging on for dear life, dragging us around this lot, and he went around a corner, and he's done this to me, like, multiple times, not just on the sledding. Like, I used to go wakeboarding at the lake and stuff like that, and he'd do this crap to me every freaking time because he thinks it's hilarious, and I never really got hurt, but I went fucking flying off into head first into a drift because he went too fast around a corner, 4 years old, feet sticking out and everything. They have pictures. I am not sharing them with anybody. You could forget asking right now. But it was great. It was great.
the
But yeah,
thing
that
is you started saying that, and the only thought I have is like, I bet you got a lot of snow in your face from the treads of the four-wheeler.
actually no, he had it probably about like 10 feet behind.
Oh,
Like
okay,
he
okay,
put a
okay.
long
You
chain
can
on
tell
it. It
that
wasn't
I might have done this before because that was my
uh-huh.
first. I'm like, yeah, don't put it that close because you're gonna get
Oh
a
yeah.
face full of mud. Because we did that in mud. Because Texas,
Mhm.
it doesn't snow. I mean, it ices sometimes, but it
Yeah.
rains, and when it rains, that's when you you don't go to field unless you want to see some people do some really dumb stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. God, but yeah, that was a fun time. One of my earliest memories is being headfirst in a freaking snowdrift. Now I live in a state where it snows a lot more often. But that brings us to our number ones, Blue. And what's your number one?
My number one is actually like so it's been interesting growing up. It's for those who aren't married and don't have kids, it's probably kind of a foreign concept, but the concept of holiday splitting is really
Mm,
kind of it's really interesting. Like it's just to me it's just really fascinating. But like so our holiday schedule has been kind of has begun a tradition. And the nice thing, I guess the nice thing, I don't know if this is a nice thing, but the whatever. The benefit to it is because we're the oldest, both my wife and myself are the oldest of our generation, our family. And we apparently have set the trend for everyone else. So everyone else's holiday schedules apparently are now like syncing to ours, because basically what we do is every year we'll do either Thanksgiving or Christmas, right? Those are the two major holidays. One year we'll be down in Texas for Thanksgiving, and then we'll be here in Kansas for Christmas, and then the following year we flip flop it, just so that every family, you know, obviously gets fair treatment. Mostly also because with the little one, that becomes very prime real estate for grandparents. So that's a very contentious territorial dispute that I don't understand nor want to understand. So I just know that it has to be 50-50 or someone gets crucified, and I don't want to be that person. So we do that. But like, I learned last year that my sister-in-law, when they got married, they basically told my wife, "Oh, well, what is your holiday, like, what's your holiday schedule? Because we're going to coordinate with yours," and that they're going to. So basically what it translates into is like, for my wife's family, when we're not in the state for their holiday, they have none of their kids. Like,
oh, really?
everyone has synced it up to the point that they're all
so
gone,
weird.
because they're like, well, we want to be at we want to be
with all the little
you guys,
ones,
because
yeah.
if you don't, then it's going to be like constantly flip flopping. Like, we'll always miss each other. But I was just like sitting there the other day thinking about that. I'm like, huh. So we inadvertently destroyed 50% of the holidays for this family because
Not destroyed, just made it more difficult, I guess.
Chat. Just set the kids in the middle of the room and have the grandparents have a battle royale for snuggling rights.
Oh, gosh. Battle royale.
See, I don't want to do that because I really like my wife's parents and I don't want to see them hurt. And I know my family. They don't pull punches.
Man.
But yeah, so I know that's not like really a it's a tradition, but it's not like the normal. It's just to me, it just cracks me up. Like the minor things that just can like create random of just immense amounts of drama in families are just like, to me, it's just like, why? But then sometimes it's also really interesting.
Yeah, it is. Mine has to do with kind of the family holiday tradition too, but my family was all in the same town. On both sides of my mom and my dad's side were all in the same town, so we didn't actually have to travel very far because the town was only a square mile. So you could walk to the holiday if you wanted to. But my favorite memory having to do with that is the fact that my dad's side of the family all are card players. All of them play cards and very Catholic. So what we would do is we'd have pitch tournaments. And I don't know if you know how to play pitch, but it is kind of cutthroat.
I was about to say, let the blood flow.
It's not spoons. We never drew blood. We never played spoons.
Okay, spoons. You will draw blood if you have a family gathering with spoons. Made that
spoons is terrible. But pitch we played, and we would have a high table and a low table, and you partner up, and you have to bid, and you work with your partner. And so you learn a lot about your aunts and uncles when you play with them and against them, and how they don't really care sometimes to like kind of destroy you as a 7-year-old, but it happens.
They're like, you know what? You're getting a little big for those.
But no, it was good. We played every Christmas and every Thanksgiving. There would be a whole day's worth where a lot of my aunts and uncles, and on my dad's side, while they were all still alive, there were 13 aunts and uncles on my dad's side. We're down to about 7 now because of age and other mishaps that have happened. But I have a lot of cousins on my dad's side of the family, and we would all play pitch. And sometimes we'd have 2 tables going, sometimes 3. And then my aunt and my grandmother would always make puppy chow and Chex Mix and have like just crudité out and stuff like that. And that's what we would eat. It wouldn't be like a Christmas meal or a Thanksgiving meal at that point. It would just be all these snacks and playing cards. And that was a lot of my holidays were spent that way. But learning how to play cards is definitely something that kind of transitioned to my adult life in a very different way because now I play video games instead. But they always encouraged that kind of thing, which was nice. But it's kind of I feel like we did a short one, but we really didn't because we had lots of fun conversation about horses and cards and holidays. But that's it for top 3 this week, guys. Next week, I want to actually do something related back to Destiny a little bit more. I want to do your top 3 legendary or exotic items in Destiny. And this could be D1 or D2, any point in time. Your favorite exotics or legendaries, top 3. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But that's it. Thank you for joining us. We'll catch you next time. And remember, everybody likes a list. And cut.
Yeah.
Grandfather was Master Chief and your birth father was an officer. Wow. Nice, Hex. I didn't know that. I did not know
Immolation.
that. Raise later? Really, Trigger? You are that jerk? You have Black Talon now. Stop that. God. Invictus shotgun. Man, it's gonna turn into a salt bath a little bit, I think, once we get once we do the top 3 weapons. Maybe not too bad. Blue and I aren't that competitive, though I spent about 3 hours in competitive playlist today, but whatever. Oh man. Potato, if you're still in chat, that is no problem. I will get that to you as soon as I can. Ias Luna. First sword. Why are you triggered, Hex? Did you switch the backdrop?
Yeah,
You
I
totally
switched the background. You're like, oh, the background.
Just to give you a heads up, Hex plays Aldrin on Twitter.
Oh, cool.
She plays one of them.
So the fun thing is, when I was making this wallpaper, I'll be honest, I completely did not notice this until I made this. But the cover of the book, that's a crow.
Mm-hmm.
I completely did not. Because the longest time I'm like, why is there a fucking squid on this thing?
Yeah, it looks like a squid, but it's a crow. The
Yeah.
wings are just a little funny.
So yeah, I was like, oh, that's what that's supposed to be. So I was like, I'm like, that's really weird, but okay. I guess they really want a squid on one of the lore books. I would have gone with.
I mean, what's his name?
Pahanin. Pahanin.
Yeah.
I would have gone with the lore book on Pahanin for the squid, but whatever.
There you go. It's a reason why his markings are the way they are. If you look at them, they are kind of that same lineup, I guess. With the markings under the eyes and everything.
Oh.
Cool, yo. All right.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
What are the top 3? Oh, I bet that's an old one. Cerberus 1. Oh, I can't freaking stand Cerberus right now in Crucible. For those of you who are new in chat, top 3 is just kind of our get to know the host show that we put on, where we go through different topics every week. We've done so many weird ones. People will suggest topics for us to go through.
Wait, who?
And
someone's asking what top 3 is.
Yeah, so like we've done adult beverages, things wrapped in bacon, greatest weapons in a video game, books, cartoons, snacks, breakfast food, references in Destiny, vacations, all sorts of different things. Like fun, crazy. It's just a way to get to know us a little bit more because we talk about the game so much and a lot of our listeners want to learn a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is our chance to be able to send that to them.
Give me a second.
But yeah.
And I will get you
Yes. Saddest endings, which we did 2 weeks ago. So if you guys have any ideas of top 3s, like, you could throw them in chat and tag me, and I will add them to the list too, if you have any of them. Yeah, you didn't miss anything, Hex. You did not miss anything, girl. Yes.
Yeah, so that spreadsheet that I just popped into chat, that will take you to the directory that I keep for... That will have links to the episodes themselves on Podbean. If it has a mind map, it's going to be linked there as well, and then also which guest and date those were released.
Top 3 final battles. Final battles where? Like, movie battles? Like, I'm thinking Godzilla when you say top 3 final battles. Favorite Destiny story mission? Okay, anyone. Anime movies? That's a big list for Blue and Beard, but
We did
very
animated
short one for
films.
me. We did do animated films, I think.
And then we did mangas and comic books.
Yes. Comic books I could do. Mangas and animes I am very uneducated in.
We forgive you.
It's fine. I grew up, I mean, there's literally nothing in Southwest Kansas that had them. Like, I could get mangas at Hastings when I worked there, but by the time I just wasn't interested in them. I was interested in reading, what was it? Or not Dragon Ball Z, now that I'm seeing it in chat. Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings was what my jam was at that point, so. Best beatdown? What does that mean, Dino? Please explain. Like, finishing move? Mortal Kombat? I'm not sure what you mean by that one. And let me know when you're ready to do the normal show. Top 3 video games.
Saber vs. Lancelot. Oh god, that thing would be... Ugh. That's a rough one.
I don't know if we've done video games. I can check.
What? Which one?
Top 3 video games that
like
made everyone love video games.
We didn't do like general. We've done like different video game components.
Okay. All right. I'm ready when you are, guys. Feel free to tag me on Twitter if you get more ideas for them and whatnot.
Yep. Give me 2 seconds. Just.
Top 3 times Fate waifu. You're great. I don't understand. Sorry, Dino. I don't understand.
It's Fate. It's the Fate series.
Okay.
Fate based.
Sorry.
Great granddad into a waifu.
Dino. Oh my gosh. And now I'm getting freaking Aldrin photos from somebody else. Like these weird, like.
They didn't. I mean, to be fair, I did appreciate how they portrayed Gilgamesh in Fate.
Oh my god.
Because he was a psychotic badass.
So triggered right now, you two. So triggered. Man. Man.
All right. You good?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back for episode 157 of Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on February 8th over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. As always, I want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Our topic for tonight's episode is going to be a look at the Forsaken Prince lore booklet. But first, let's run through a quick introduction of those on the show for tonight. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86. Next up, we have our own master of social media, the one and only Green-Eyed Music Lover. Green, hope you're doing well. How has the week treated you so far?
I'm good. I actually got my email on Tuesday, and I am now an affiliate on Twitch.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's kind of cool. I have to finish doing all the paperwork essentially for that, but I've got that going for me, and things with the house are going well. Yeah, right? It's so cool. But
now you get to celebrate with bits.
Yeah. We'll see when that starts happening. I've got to get all that set up.
I love that she's like, I don't know how to respond to that, so...
Not yet. I really don't know yet. Just trying to figure out how to get the whole thing up and running with all of that going on and the finances and the taxes and the stuff. Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm hoping to start streaming, and this is going to probably change with the move and everything, but hopefully start streaming a little bit more regularly in the evenings. I think that was when I tend to get the most hits, which is pretty sweet.
That is nice.
And hopefully I'll see you guys in there.
Am I allowed to host you? Because I know the last time I hosted you on Focus Fire, I got a blistering message from like 4 different people being like, why are you hosting? Don't host it.
The only thing I was worried about is I'm very good on the show about not cursing when I'm playing and streaming.
You can feel the filter being shoved down. I'm very good about not.
I am professional when we do the show because I know we have a younger audience. But when I'm streaming, there's no filter. It's for mature audiences only, just FYI. If you happen to pop in, I'm just warning you. I don't hold back.
To be fair, that is why we also have the mature filter on our stream. Is because when my brother and I play, we're exactly the same. Like there is banter between the two of us the entire time.
It's not just the banter and the oh my goodness, somebody just shot me type thing. It's also the clan that I run with is not exactly the best at keeping their mouth shut. So, that being said, if you would like to visit my stream sometime and listen to the shenanigans and the craziness of Hydra Gaming for Destiny, please feel free to do so. And I will blister your ears.
Sorry. So as you could probably tell, it's just Green and I, which actually brings me into I have 3 announcements that I wanted to make at the top of the show instead of waiting until the end. Simply because I know you guys are still listening. The first one is Beard got in touch with us. There was a lot going into this, but he said that he wanted to let everyone know that he is planning on being back. He just is going to be planning on taking February off to kind of realign a couple of things and rework on his own schedule. So, for those who are worried about where Beard is these last couple episodes, that's what's going on with that. Similar with Justin. Justin is obviously, and I know we mentioned this last time, Justin is still extremely busy. We were hoping to get him on tonight, but I think his schedule just didn't cooperate with it. So that's where those 2 troublemakers are currently. They're just taking a break right now. Beard said that he will be back for the next Extra Lore, which is good because I don't know what we would do without Beard for the next Extra Lore, since that's kind of his game. His baby.
Yeah, his thing that he talks about all the time. Like he sends me music videos and music clips from this game, which granted, Nier Automata and
it's
just the Nier series, it's got some great music, but dear Lord, I love you, Beard. I love you, Beard. I can't wait to hear you talk about it.
So I told him quite bluntly, I was like, well, it's good because I have no idea what I was going to do with that without you there to help or, just do it for me because I have no exposure to that game series. But yeah, so I just wanted to give everyone a heads up on that, which also will bring me to the next point that I want everyone to be aware of. So with I think it was a couple weeks ago, we made the announcement about the Lore Network, really kind of being where I'm going to be kind of trying to focus a little bit more energy into to get a platform for different content creators and ourselves and just people who want to explore like different story analysis pieces. Hopefully we'll get a platform that's a little bit easier to find other creators that like focusing on that, just for, because I know Green, you had made a comment a while back about like, man, it's hard to find different people. Like it's just that's not something that there's a really good hub out there for. So we're trying to kind of build something there. With that being said, what we're going to probably be doing here, I'm still working on this, so it's not in effect currently. It's going to be going into effect pretty much as soon as I can figure out the logistics of it. But we're going to be moving the Focus Fire website into the Lore Network website. Now we will still have the URL and everything, and that's actually what I'm working on, is trying to figure out the best way to redirect that into the appropriate sites. And we also still do have the archive over on Podbean. That's not going anywhere. I love Podbean. I'm not planning on going anywhere from there. And anyone, actually, I've had this conversation, it feels like a handful of times this week, but anyone who's interested in starting up a podcast or wanting some advice on how to use that, I really strongly recommend Podbean. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'm in several chats with like their admin team on a pretty regular basis, because we're on a number of different, like, not really focus groups, but they're kind of like beta testing groups and stuff like that. So we have actually like a really nice connection with the Podbean team, and they've always bent over backwards to help us. And I really appreciate them. So there will always be the Podbean site, as far as I'm concerned, for Focus Fire. Focus Fire, the articles and the show notes will now be posted to pretty much exclusively on the Lore Network, just because it's, to be blunt, kind of a pain for me to have to double post and triple post them in different places. So just for my sanity, I'm going to start just posting them on the Lore Network. Our archives have all been moved over, so all of it's already on the Lore Network's website. I'm hoping that's a little bit easier format for you guys to find that stuff, because we've designed that website with the idea of it being centered around articles. So it's going to be kind of more friendly to maneuvering through that type of information. But as always, give me some feedback on what your thoughts on that. It is the lorenetwork.com for that website. And like I said, we're hopefully going to be getting some more content on there for you guys, and also some more kind of a directory started to kind of help guide where everything is going. We also are on Twitter at the Lore Network. If you want to follow that, I know Green has done an amazing job with helping get some automatic notifications for different content creators, their stuff going live. We have, I'm just blown away by some of the stuff Green has done for us with Twitter on that. So be sure to follow that handle if you're on Twitter, and if you want a kind of a place that focuses on lore but not specifically Destiny. Kind of coming back to Destiny, we just got done recording. Well, we didn't just get done recording. We just recorded, and I just got done editing the episode, our episode for Valentine's Day. And that is going to be an episode that we recorded with Moonvald from Planet Destiny. We talked for, an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes about the relationships within Destiny and how important some of them are, and just like how important that is, like what's going on with some of the big names, even some of the small names, like how they're portrayed, the different types of portrayal, I know Moon was really big on that. And I know Green, you and her have had this conversation, I think she said for a while off air. So it was just kind of a way to get it recorded, really.
Yep.
And yeah, that's my three big announcements for this week. Green, I saw you ask a question this week. How badly did you get yelled at?
Oh my God. I have to go find it because I forgot, because I stopped looking at Twitter on my account because of you guys. not because it was like nobody was talking to me, quite the opposite. I had, I think, over 400 votes on this one. Let me pull it up real quick. It's still getting pings too. 49 different comments and 409 votes on how people feel about Uldren. Talk about controversial, apparently. And some of these threads are so long, so it's like, oh my gosh, you guys are killing me. I love it, but you're killing me. Thank you for doing that, by the way. I'm just joking. Feel free to talk and make comments and salty and funnies all over those poll questions, because it does make me smile when I do finally go through them. But the question of the week was, what are your feelings over Uldren, Forsaken Prince? I had 3 options. Hate him, he's a jerk. Don't care either way. I love him. And it was pretty stinking, like, split almost 3 ways. 32% said they hated him, 28% said they loved him, and 40% said they didn't care either way. So it was, for a 400 votes, it was pretty stinking close. People are just like, he's dead. Yeah, he killed Cade, whatever. And I think I remember doing a poll early after Forsaken released that asking how people felt about Uldred, and they were just so angry. So it seems like with time, people have kind of chilled out a little bit, which is good.
We've all worked through the stages of grief. We've now accepted it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's been interesting. But some of the different posts that people put on there, some people are like, I don't love him and I don't hate him, but it's not that I don't care either. I just really curious where this is leading, which is kind of the overarching comment I've gotten through a lot of these. Some people went into dissertations worth of defense. Some people went into dissertations worth of how much of a jerk he is. So it's like, all right, this is cool. It's nice to see the conversation really fired up for this character who honestly we haven't technically seen since the video clip that dropped back in December when we did the Marasov visit. And I'm trying to think, it was like right after Crimson Days dropped. That video clip where
Not Crimson Days.
Dawning?
Yeah, Dawning.
There we go.
I was like,
that one.
It wasn't Crimson Days because that hasn't dropped yet.
Yeah,
I know that much.
I've got Crimson Days on the brain at this point. Yeah, I'm so ready to do this PvP thing.
Oh my gosh, that hoodie.
You have to play the game to do it.
I know.
You can do it. I believe in you. I might be your Crimson Days partner. I'm just weak. But when that video dropped, that was the last time we've seen Uldren since the whole thing that went down with Cade at the beginning of Forsaken. So we've had quite a bit of time, and still people are very fired up about this character, how both in love with him they are, as well as how much they hate him, as well as how much they just don't care, which is great to have the whole spectrum. So thank you guys for jumping on the poll and giving us some really great feedback and some really interesting perspectives either way. Anyway, but yeah, a lot of people are like, I'm willing to give him a second chance since he may not have any of his memories. What do you think about that, Blue? Are you ready to give him a second chance?
I mean, you're talking to someone who wasn't mad at him at all to begin with, so
that's
yes. True. I mean, I think I feel like we had this conversation with Moon, didn't we? Like
a little bit.
Yeah. Because like, and we'll definitely get into this because this is actually kind of one of the critical points of this particular lore book. The question of I just blanked on the word that I wanted. Wow, I just completely blanked on the word that I was looking for. The question of if he's culpable of what he is doing during the whole scenario. Yeah, well, I mean, I would argue that he is cognizant. I just don't know. So
if he's responsible for it?
ultimately, I think that's the debate, because the thing is, and like I said, we're definitely going to get into this probably pretty heavily, because this is a really interesting psychological debate too, right? The idea that he is hallucinating a lot of this different stuff, and if you play back the missions and stuff like that, whenever he is present and he sees Mara, like even up to the very end where the giant meatball eats him, it's up until the moment that he is actually physically being attacked by that, which was an illusion, that and even like actually even before then, he's been resisting. Like he was resisting opening the gate at the very end. He was, because if remember, it took Mara like his illusion screaming at him, right, to kind of push him. And the other thing is with Aldrin's personality, if it was anyone other than Mara, I would be I would not be surprised to see him basically tell him to go to hell. Like anyone other than Mara could not get him to do the things that he was doing. I don't think that's the character. Well, that's his character weakness, right? Is Mara.
Maybe the whole Cade thing going down. I mean, obviously, to get into the position where he did with the Barons and shooting Cade was the result of Riven. But would Aldrin hesitate at hurting a Guardian? I don't think so.
Oh, no, not at all.
Does have an immense distaste for Guardians.
Well, but to be fair, there's some groundwork that explains that.
There's reason for that. But yeah, you ready to jump in?
Yeah, sure. So let's run through our standard intro notes, and then we'll get right into it. So, for Lost Lore, I was just kind of thinking about that, and I think Lost Lore, honestly, there's so much that you can unpack from this particular book. I'm actually kind of at a loss because of the overabundance of options for where we're going with this one. But I want to maybe kind of focus a little bit, and this was probably going to transition pretty seamlessly into what we were kind of just talking about, is the corruption, I guess.
Okay, well, the Riven.
Yeah, well, what were you thinking?
Well, I was just thinking his connection with Mara.
The connection with Mara.
That ties back into Maracena, but we can totally do the corruption, because I actually, thanks to some friends who were streaming earlier, I rewatched the clip where he gets the shard from the Traveler.
Oh yeah. Where Mara has the creepy smile.
Yeah, I mean, God, that the Riven version of Mara is terrifying.
Yeah.
Just when people started like pulling that image out, like I was just like, oh God, no, please tell me this is not what they did. It's not just the teeth, it's the eyes. It's so bad. But no, in that scene, just as he's getting ready to get the shard from the Traveler, all the Elixni have come out, or the Fallen have come out, and are like, they're like with him, and he's like whatever lording over the top of them. But he hesitates. He hesitates to fire at the shard. And that, to me, in and of itself, is incredibly interesting, because the Riven Mara has to push him to do that and fire at it.
Right, because if you remember, the Riven Mara, or the whatever, whoever is casting this illusion of Mara, which, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that's Riven. I know that there's still some like slight debate on that. But like this dark Mara, for lack of better term, has to push him to do a lot of the decisions. Like, yes, there are when it comes to when with Aldrin, he's a big talker, and he can back it up. Like, I don't mean that negatively. Like, he can back up a lot of his threats. Like, Aldrin is not a weak character at all. But Aldrin is very big on flash. Like, he's very big on perception and using perception to further his goals. Like, you get a sense that he he doesn't have a problem kind of talking his way out of things, especially now. Like in the Maracena and before, you also see the physicality of Uldren and the willingness to take a punch and to be able to take a punch. And I think that is very, very integral to his character as well. But
as well as his overall personality in general.
Yeah, he's willing. I mean, he's willing to not just. I mean, he's willing to take punishment for everything, especially Mara. Mara is like I said, Mara is his blind spot, weak spot, whatever you want to call it. But the thing is like when it comes to time to actually do some of these things, it seems like there is a part of him that is still kind of pushing back. And I'm right there with you, Green, because I think that is kind of an indication that there is still he's not 100% sold that this is the right thing to do, but then Mara is right there screaming at him to do it. And it's like, and this kind of goes into one of the first entries is the length of a chain. The entire concept of that title, the reason that's called that is because he makes a comment about how you can't know the length of a chain until you throw yourself against it. And with Mara, every time he throws himself against the chain, which is where the build up for the first like half of this book, the entire story or the entire point of the first half is him going out to find the Black Garden and ultimately try to find the heart of the Black Garden. And he's doing that in opposition to Mara's direct orders not to. They have been forbidden to go to the Black Garden, and Uldren goes behind her back and coerces Julian, who we're going to talk about here in a second as well, coerces Julian to go with him. And the entire reason he's doing this is basically to get a reaction from Mara, because Mara is that perfect politician at this point. She's that queen, that ice queen, if you will. And also he makes a comment about like he doesn't know, he himself doesn't know how much is him and how much is Uldren in reaction to Mara. Like, is there an Uldren without a Mara? You see this a lot in like fantasy, like duo characters, where there is always the stronger one and the weaker one, and then there's always that conflict between the two of like, who are they by themselves? That's a very big conflict that you see a lot of times with characters that are portrayed in a group, right? And Uldren's no different. Really, honestly, that's what everyone in reality goes through too. It's like that whole concept of like, who am I without this, fill in the blank, significant other, parent, brother, sister, whatever it is. You all will have that same question. And there's always that combat of how long is this chain that attaches us? Whether or not you throw yourself against it is a different situation, but...
To be fair, if I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate, Uldren should have known that the quote-unquote Dark Mara was not actually Mara because of some of the lines, specifically the "Oh brother mine," the "Oh blank mine" pipeline that we've seen throughout all the lore that relates back to Ahamkara. Now, playing devil's advocate the other way, Uldren desperately wanted his sister back.
Right. And
period.
Also,
no matter what.
I would also argue that by the time the corruption... by the time the corruption actually made itself manifest in the form of Mara to Uldren, I would argue that he was probably already past the point of rationally deciding that wasn't Mara and paying attention to the nuanced way of saying things. Because if you're like in the lore book, we actually see the first point at when he gets infected, and it's very insidious. It's very subtle. It's very, very slow in getting its hooks into him. But it seems like once those hooks are set, like once he becomes the victim of that corruption, it escalates quickly. And like the whole thing is his armor is his armor is not perfect. I mean, no one's armor is perfect, but he does not have the armor that Mara has against the Ahamkara, because the Ahamkara operate on desire. They are drawn to it. That is their sustenance. That is the how they survive is they consume that and they convert reality into the desire. They are by definition paracausal in and of themselves. And so his desire in anyone who has lost something important, whether that be a loved one or, I mean, hell, even something like super
Mundane.
material, like a cell phone or, keys or something, like any degree. If you've ever lost something, you know what this feels like, right? And this is magnified times infinite number, because not only did he lose a sister, which is an immense blow, he lost a friend and a family member that has been with him for ever since he can remember. Like, you have to keep that in mind too. We don't know how long Mara and Uldren have been together. We really don't. We can get an idea maybe, but then you also have to take into account the fact that we don't know how long they were in the Awoken, I can never say the word, distributary. We don't know how long. Yeah, I don't, whatever. If I don't think about it, I think I can get it. We don't know how long they were there, right? But we do know that the entire time, Uldren has never been far from Mara. They are connected at all times, pretty much. And so to have that suddenly ripped away, and it's also added because we saw within the I think it was the Awoken of the Wreath, it might have been Maracena, Catabasis is the entry. Mara didn't warn anybody that this plan was going into effect. And so that is also infinitely painful. And, and so he doesn't know that she has a plan. He just is like, she's gone. She's just ripped away. No explanation. It's reality too. And when you lose something, you lose someone, there's often no closure in that. And that pain is something that is immensely palpable. And so when you have that corruption that feasts on desire attach itself to someone who just lost something that important, it's not really a surprise to me that corruption was able to wiggle its way into the mind that easily. But it's like, I don't know, like because reading the lore book, you don't actually see, like, you don't even see, like, you hear Mara speaking well before he ever sees her. And when he does hear her speaking, for a large percentage of time, it's with the same sensation that there's that niggling mention of, like, starlight, that conversation via starlight, the hum of starlight or whatever. And it's always with that sensation that she this illusion communicates with him too. So, like, I mean, I don't think it's a matter of Uldren just not being super aware of things. I think it's a matter of he is so far gone at the point that he sees these hallucinations. Because in game, it seems like it's very quick. I get, like, we don't really see the process from, because the other thing to remember here is that this has been going on since the Taken King.
Right.
So for us, when we see him in game, with Forsaken, it's like, back to back to back to back. And we're like, okay, that's pretty quick. But for him, the corruption has been trying to get a hold of him since he crashed on Mars, basically.
A little bit afterwards, I think.
Well, see, and I don't know, because he
says
says the despair starts setting in when he's carrying the crow back to his ship after the second crash.
Right, but my whole point on that is that when was Riven taken?
Well,
when was Riven taken and been able to get his claws into Uldren? And that is like something we don't have clarification. We know it happened after Taken King. That's
right. We know. Well, I mean, there's a lot of counterpoints to it too, because, like, we know that Riven would have been taken pretty close to the time of Taken King as well, because of who took her. But the other possibility is that who said that Riven was taken when she corrupted him? I mean, Riven has wanted to kind of strike back. Like,
that's an interesting line of thought.
Because, see, I never connected Riven being taken as being a component of her corrupting Uldren. Because she's been after Uldren since she first encountered Uldren.
Yeah.
Because Uldren.
Chat
So to kind of explain that really quick, Uldren is the reason that Riven is with the Awoken.
Yes.
That was, I think that's actually in the, I think
It
that's in this
is.
booklet. Okay.
It
I'm
is.
like, all these lore books are starting to blend together, which is it's a great problem to have, but it's also kind of annoying sometimes.
I'm pretty sure it is, at least.
Riven is one of the unique treasures that Uldren discovers when the Awoken first come back into our system. And he brings her when she is still pretty much an infant, or I don't even know what the word would be for it, an Ahamkarleen, like a baby Ahamkara.
Yeah.
And
apparently it's in Awoken of the Reef, not this book.
Okay, that
Getting
makes
yelled
sense.
at very loudly in chat.
Okay, so it's Telic. Okay. I'd say for my defense, I did say I couldn't remember if it was in this book or not. It is Uldren though. So Uldren brings Riven to Mara to present to her as a kind of a unique power source, which is it gets kind of explained why Mara is so fascinated with Riven and the Ahamkara later, and why Mara allows the Reef to be so heavily involved in the Great Ahamkara hunt. But like when Uldren presents Riven to Mara, it is made clear that Mara takes Riven and keeps it separate from all the Awoken. And there is a scene in which Uldren comes to see Mara and Riven is wrapped around her neck, and there is a perking up of Riven. Like, Riven recognizes Uldren, like, for a number of different things. And honestly, if you really want to play devil's advocate, you could possibly argue that this has been Riven playing a long game, because again, who introduced it to Mara? Uldren. We don't know how Uldren found Riven. I mean, it depends on how far down the rabbit hole you want to go there, but there is a small possibility, and I don't think this is the case, but there is the possibility that Riven has had its hooks into Uldren from day one. Now, that being said, I don't think that's the case, but it is a possibility that we have to keep into consideration, because again, we never saw how Riven and Uldren kind of interconnected, and what happened between that point and between him getting it to Mara. There's a lot, and given the Ahamkara, they're shapeshifters, we don't know exactly how that all works.
True.
Yeah, and Dino in chat, I mean, it's like, Riven has kept tabs on Uldren. Like, the relationship between Riven and Uldren is something that I think should not be downplayed. And I don't think it's as simple as, not that you were saying this, Green, but I don't think it's as simple as, oh, she's taken and now she's, because, I mean, there is a connection between the two of them, because otherwise, how did she get a hold of Uldren in the first place? And that's what chat's talking about right now, is like the imprint being a psychic connection, the idea of young animals imprinting, on the first creature they see, which is often the case with like avians and stuff like that. There's a lot of different possibilities there.
The thing that I wonder, though, is if Riven has had connection to Uldren for so many years, she was only moved to actually do that when she was taken, or at least directed to do that when she was taken.
Right.
So
now,
we don't.
Yeah.
There's going to be a little bit of flexibility, at least on that respect, because we don't know what Riven would have done had she not been taken.
Right, and I think the other thing too, to kind of go just a little bit further down that rabbit hole that I was introducing, is so to remember Ahamkara are drawn to desire, and if you like, and this will kind of segue back into the beginning of the book here, if you remember what Uldren's kind of stance and kind of his worldview, even from day one for Uldren, it's always been what? It's been a desire to have Mara look at him, to have Mara treat him as an equal, or whatever. And it's not like a nefarious, like, trying to undermine Mara. He genuinely wants that sibling relationship to be kind of an equals, and Mara just doesn't, like, Mara doesn't operate that way. Like, that's just, that's expecting something that is just not going to happen. But there that desire, I keep going back to this fact that that desire is a core facet of Uldren's personality. And so to me, it would not come as a surprise to find that Riven actually, that is what Riven is after, is that festering desire that, because it also depends on how, I don't want to say shamanistic, but how supernaturally mystical we get with this idea. But like, in the same component, that's something that's like an aged cheese or an aged piece of meat or whatever. The longer it sits and ages, sometimes the better it tastes. Well, what's better than a desire that's been festering within something for arguably maybe thousands, if not tens of thousands of years? Maybe Riven's, and it's just like there's a lot of different directions that particular piece of the story could go and not really affect anything here. Like that, I mean, that could explain actually quite a bit, and it wouldn't require a lot of rewriting, or it wouldn't require any rewriting. But kind of talking about that, to use that kind of transition to kind of talk about Uldren's past and like who Uldren is and all that, ironically, it's by the people that he keeps company with that we see a lot of who Uldren is. And one of those main characters really is Julian. And I know you had Julian down as someone to kind of, who is Julian? Like why do we care about this Julian character that we keep mentioning?
I mean, he makes some pretty freaking sweet, like, guns and swords and stuff.
If you like the Lord of Wolves, you should like Julian.
If you like the Black Talon, you should like Julian.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord of Wolves is one thing, but Black Talon is one of those weapons right now that is basically a raise lighter, but void. Which is nice. It's nice to have something like that back again. But he is basically Uldren's unofficial best friend, official best friend. That is what we're going with at this point.
Stay tuned for the episode on the 14th for this entire explanation.
Yes, because there's
a gentle difference of opinions between the two of us.
There is the possibility that Julian and Uldren were more than just friends.
Yes,
and a lot of it is based. Yeah, it's hinted at in some of the cards. Just like a lot of our quote unquote relationships that are just not blatant in Destiny, there are things hinted that they could be, but we don't know for sure. So it's the maybe not. They're close. We do know that, but how close? Anyway, Julian is kind of his go-to man. He's the one who gets Uldren cons him into doing a lot of stuff that he probably shouldn't be doing, including going to the Black Garden. And honestly, at this point in Length of a Chain, because if we're just kind of stepping into the book, it almost seems like Uldren is similar to Cade in the fact that he's like, I got a plan. Let's do this. Although he's not as vocally crazy about it. He's just more like, I got a plan. Julian, my man, you and I are going to go take the Black Garden.
He's like much more suave than Cade is.
Yeah.
Cade's like,
oh yeah.
Cade's like, gloaty. Like he's not even gloating. I don't know. Like he's like,
Cade's kind of bumbling.
Yeah, there's a degree, but he's also kind of like the jester. Like he's dead. He's serious, but he can't help but make jokes the entire time. Whereas Uldren is like the exact same like thought pattern, but the attitude is a lot more. The only word that comes to mind is slick.
Mm-hmm.
Like he feels like it's like polished and unpolished of the same personality.
Yeah, it's just very weird. It's weird to see him talk like this too, because we've always gotten these biting remarks from him, and this one, it's not so much that. It's just so funny. Do you want to just read this one?
Yeah, the part 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you want to act? Do you want to act it, or do you just want to read it?
No, because I felt I did so much of the acting when I would write. So for the record, I recorded these. These are this is part of the audio supplements that we do have on the YouTube channel. I think I recorded these, the Forsaken Prince. I think this is one of the only ones that I actually managed to get around to recording. Green, again, big shout out to Green for all the amazing work. I think, who else was it?
And
Wicked
Potato.
and Potato.
And Wicked. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, awesome job on these. But yeah.
Totally. But okay, so this is Length of a Chain Part 1. Julian, my man, Aldrin whispers, you and I are going to take the Black Garden. Oh yeah? Julian, Till of the Ratchis, famous among crows, sniper, scout, and teller of tales, lies full sprung, prone at Aldrin's side. So this is the whole moment where we're like, wait a second, what's going on with these two? Going back to the card. The scrubbed-down length of a supremacy rifle snugged against his shoulder nearly doubles his height. I heard you and I were going to float Saturn in a bathtub. I'm serious, Joel. And you'll be dead serious if you go to Mars. Hardy har har. Target range 2,900 meters. Wind and rotation. Wind 21 kilometers per hour from your 3 o'clock. You are 2 degrees off spin north. I'm going, though. I really am. You've got to come. You'll never live it down if you miss this one. I'll never live anything down if I'm dead. Shot ready. Send it, Aldrin says. The supremacy booms and kicks into Julian's shoulder. Aldrin doesn't even bother to check that it's a bullseye. You've been with me on all the big ones, Joel. I can't do it without you. Besides, he opens his hand to reveal the ejected cartridge snatched from midair, Cobra quick. If we don't do it, some Guardian will, and the next thing you know, Mara will be inviting them in to do crow work. Joel rolls onto his right flank to regard Aldrin. The master of crows grins his winningest. Julian, Till the Ratchis, squints and slaps the mag release one-handed. Aldrin catches it. You're a lot like your sister, Julian sighs. Except that when she plays dirty, she doesn't smile so big. I got all the charm in the family, Aldrin. Aldrin waits patiently for Joel to work the bolt and eject the chambered round. He usually wins this little game. Usually. But sometimes Joel surprises him. Nobody's ever been inside the garden. Imagine what we'll find. Nameless horrors? They're all nameless when nobody's named them, Joel. Nobody's ever been. Isn't that enticing? No, because your sister's forbidden it, Aldrin. That, he says cheerfully, is how I know it's worth doing. And besides, the awoken people will thrill at another tale of his narrow survival. Mars never really understood how much heroes matter to people. A queen is an indispensable thing, but a hero? Now you know what he wants, when he's lost, when he's won. So, that is the first one of that one. That, I mean, it's definitely a different view of Aldrin than we've seen before. And granted, my reading of it is probably a little bit more happy sounding than Aldrin would necessarily be, but Aldrin and Joel have an interesting relationship where they're just like, hey, you want to come do this? You know you do. You know you do. You want to be there right beside me as I break into the Black Garden, even though my sister doesn't want me to. I mean, it's just
I
fun.
double dog dare you.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's two boys on the playground. Two boys on the playground getting into trouble. But essentially, Length of a Chain Part 2, Joel calls him cocky and kind of essentially says, yeah, we'll do this kind of thing. And it's more of an insight look at how Julian is as far as his personality and whether or not he's going to agree to it and why he thinks Aldrin is doing it, which is nice. It's an insight into him a little bit, not necessarily as much Aldrin in that one.
Well, because Aldrin in the latter half of it, it's Aldrin kind of mentioning, you know, how it says he wants his sister's approval. He knows and accepts that, but he wants her approval for something she did not anticipate, did not plan or foresee, and did not account for. He wants her to thank him with surprise. And then that goes into the purpose of the title. You know, and he's like the entire concept of like, do the people love him because of him or because he is, you know, the human face, if you will, of the queen.
Right.
You know, and I think that's and then yeah, finally it closes. Either he is truly free of his sister, free to choose to stand at her side, to choose of his own free will, or the chain is longer than he has managed to run.
Right. And then we get into At the Gate, which the first line makes me smile every time I read it. Give Uldren Sov the chance to torment a guardian, and he'll take it faster than you can shout. Rasputin shot the traveler, an opinion base he lobs into guardians' minds whenever he can. AKA the entire writing team poking fun at the lore community. And the fact that theory has been around for so stupid long. It's so funny. It's like, I love you, writing team, for throwing that in there. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It took me so many takes to get that recorded without me cracking up.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, he hates the traveler, which we knew. And a part of that is also because Mara hates the traveler, and they saw everything that happened with Savin. Trying to remember his name.
Yes, Savin. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and also Uldren's personal problem with them too is like the ability that they just don't care. Like they don't care about what they're doing, and they don't have to. It's like it mentions, you know, like every time he gets into a gunfight, he wonders what it must be like to do any of this without any sheer raving terror. You know, that is something that Uldren personally can't just. It just eats at him.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that this one shows is they're at the gate at the Black Garden, or they're approaching it essentially at this point. Uldren and Joel are there together, and the battle to get to the gate is they've gotten separated, and you see Uldren kind of panic a tiny bit. Now, granted, it's not a large panic or anything like that, but he's calling on Joel to come back, essentially. Like, he doesn't know where he's at. They've gotten separated. There's a goblin in his face. There's just this battle going on. But then the bullet cracks past.
I love At the Gate Part 2. I have a princely idea.
Mm-hmm. So
there goes the ego.
I mean, that's okay. I love that line, and I also really hate that line. You want to know why? Because Uldren has never, in his any of the cutscenes that we've seen him in, been that I've got a princely idea. It's very pretentious, and I've never seen it doesn't. It makes me mad. It's not my Uldren.
It's
just
not
a
my
little
Uldren.
bit. It's not my Uldren. But yeah.
So, to be fair though, the idea that he comes up with is pretty intelligent. Like it's pretty good.
He's a smart guy. It's just that line, just that one line. I'm sorry, but just that line hurts me. But you take this one. I don't think I can go on without talking about that line some more.
Do you want me to read At the Gate Part 2 or Through the Gate?
Go Through the Gate.
Okay. So this is right after the line where he is explaining to Julian that he has an idea. And so it's Through the Gate. They crawl belly down across the Martian desert like worms. Active camouflage ponchos break up their outlines. The roaming cabal harvesters growl on the horizon. For the last 8 hours, Julian has been picking off Cabal infantry with his rifle, fleeing the eruption of automatic counterfire. Uldren has listened on cracked battle nets as mightier weapons are invoked and brought to bear. The war machine is now inflamed, swollen with outrage. Julian touches Uldren's ankle. Fingertips drum out code. How far? 50 meters, Uldren whispers. If the Vex know we're here, they haven't. The air prickles. Subsonic groans of power stir in the sand. Something mighty awakens above them. Never mind, Uldren mutters. The Vex have now reacted. He throws off his poncho, rising with revolver and deflection grenade in his fist, screaming challenge. Jutting from the Martian desert before them is the canted, fringed hoop that is the Black Garden's gate, huge enough to swallow a fallen skiff. It thrills with infinite energy. Out of that aperture emerges the behemoth silhouette of a Vex Gatelord, metal and mind crashing together, self-assembling, ready to defend the secret place. The Vex are born here in the sense of baptism, consecrated to the service of some terrible purpose that the machines found within. Hey, big guy, Uldren shouts, over here! Calmly, carefully, Julian Till the Ratchus begins to fire his rifle straight up into the sky. The reports of the Supremacy's huge cartridges spill out across the dunes. The Gatelord towers above them. Uldren whoops and hip-fires a couple rounds into the sand at its feet. Can you dance, sir? He bellows. Have you got the footwork? Inside the Vex entity, there are mighty algorithms constructing a model of this merely temporal place, calculating potential threat, weighing the utility of weapons discharge against the good that power might do elsewhere. This computation is the only reason Uldren's still alive. The bone mic tuned to Cabal tactical channels wakes up at Uldren's throat. They have localized the sound of Julian's rifle and are responding. He hollers up at the Vex behemoth and starts to jig. It's going to rain on Mars. It's monsoon season in Meridian Bay. Did you see the forecast? He grabs Joel by the hand and pulls. Together they sprint towards the Gatelord and its charge. The Vex machine must know what's coming, but it has to weigh the certainty of Cabal against the tiny possibility of these microbiotic motes slipping into the gate. The Gatelord raises a weapon to obliterate them. They skid into the gate's threshold, and Uldren activates the deflection grenade so hard he nearly breaks his thumb. A perfect sphere of topologically defective space-time blinks into being around him. He holds Julian close, and together they calm their breath. The barrier is impenetrable, but it will not last long. Until then, there is only so much air to breathe. Outside, the full fury of a Cabal fleet carrier lands on the Gatelord. When the barrier lands, the Gatelord is dead, and Uldren and Julian are no longer on Mars.
Can I just say I love the fact that one of Uldren's weapons is literally his taunts and voice.
Yes, yeah.
That is like, wow. Like, yes. Mr. Snark himself literally taunts a person
It's gonna
to
rain
death.
on Mars.
Oh my god, the bone mic. It's so good. It's so clever. It's
Oh.
also a little crazy in my mind, but it's like, all right, only Uldren can get away with literally taunting something to death. And then they are in the garden.
Yes, and the LSD drugs start kicking in because wow.
Everything grows here. Look at your nails.
It just,
yeah, I mean,
it's just like reading someone portraying a really bad trip. Like Julian is so out of sorts by everything.
mm-hmm.
Like oh my gosh, like the descriptions are just so great. You have like a canopy of white tongues. Then you have
Uldren's nails curling around, reaching back to its root.
Yeah. And then it's got the vines that try to coil around his wrists, tiny teeth shaped like letters saw at his skin.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like okay, are these actually like thorns, or are these like, what are these?
This is what I really want to talk about. Is they're in the Black Garden. We were in the Black Garden. They're hallucinating. We didn't hallucinate.
That's the problem about hallucinations, isn't it?
Uh-huh. So it's like, okay, did we hallucinate when we went into the Black Garden the first time when we killed, what was it, the was it called? It was basically the glowing mass that went into the different Vex giant minotaurs. The 3 different minotaurs. You remember that the final mission of the D1
Yeah.
vanilla?
The
What was
Black
that
Heart.
called? Yes, thank you, the Black Heart.
Because that was us actually killing the Black Heart, which Uldren also,
Right.
I like Uldren's analysis of what the Black Heart is later in this book as well.
Right, which is coming up, isn't it?
Yes, it's after the heart is that entry, or after the heart 2, I believe. It's after he returns with the flowers, which then are later used to create Queen's Foil, I believe, is if I remember that connection there.
Asphodelias.
Asphodelias, yes. This is also chat. I'm not going, okay, for the record, I am not going to read the Cabal voice the same way that I recorded it, because apparently, unbeknownst to me, I gave the Cabal a Cockney accent. I don't even know how I did that. Like, but I'm not gonna, chat's like, I will hate you if you don't do the right accent. Like, I don't know what the accent is.
I don't remember, but I did. That was like 4 months ago at this point.
It was a while back.
Oh my gosh.
Specifically the accent they're supposed to have. So yeah, for those who are confused about this, I think this was On the Hunt was the entry that I was reading, and it's just like you read it and it's just so easy
right up in me eyes.
Right up in me eyes.
Practically shaving me bristles. Now I give it a lisp. It's fine. We'll just keep moving on. Poor Cabal.
Oh my god. But yeah, I recorded it and apparently I gave it a decent. I don't know. I don't want to say I gave it a decent Cockney accent because I might piss off someone who actually knows what that means.
Was recognizably Cockney.
Yeah. I gave it the accent that I thought it made sense, and apparently a lot that was the correct one. So anyways, On the Hunt is basically, to go back in the garden, we see Uldren and Julian in the garden. Like, this is when they first kind of got in. Julian is flipping out and not comfortable at all. And Uldren is just like, the best way I can explain is he's on cloud 9. Like, he is just having the time of his life. And he just gets like, he starts becoming obsessed, I think is the best term for it. He says he cannot let this place be killed. He cannot let it be looted and overthrown like everything else that doesn't fit into the narrow binary dogmas of the Traveler's undead warriors. Excitement seizes him and he runs ahead, sloshing through the muck, laughing aloud. And Uldren's like, or Julian's like, what are you doing? Where are you going? And Uldren just, what are you looking for? And Uldren basically is like, he doesn't know. And like, again, I think this kind of taps into the idea of remembering that they are immortals. Like, they have been for so long immortal. Uldren has existed for so long at this point that the idea of finding something that he doesn't know would actually probably be something of a spark of adrenaline or something of that nature, especially given his personality of wanting to be the scout, wanting to find the unknown. He likes being on the edge of that. And so finding the Black Garden, I think, is really actually, that is where the thrill comes from, because there's a scene earlier in this entry where he flips over a beetle, and the beetle is just a shell. Like, it makes no sense. Julian pulls up a plant and its roots are metallic threads of a circuit board. Like, this place does not make sense, and it defies logic. And to a person who for the longest time has searched for something unknowable or something that defies the logic of the system, that is a gold mine in and of itself. And that's why I think he kind of starts looking at this like he can't let this be destroyed. He starts getting, for the lack of a better word, he starts getting infected with the desire to keep this place alive, which gets expanded on the Hunt, because they find out that there was a war party. Now, Uldren gets really pissed about this. And not for reasons that would probably make sense to an Awoken. He gets annoyed because they are damaging the garden. Like, it's like Uldren has taken over protection of this. Like, you know, it's like, I don't know. But then you also get the idea, or you start getting the sense that I think Julian is the one that's like brain stain, which is a really weird thing to say. But basically, you start hearing, they said that start hearing the wind whispering, soft words with just the beginnings of syntax, the cadence almost musical. And so Julian is actually paying attention more so than Uldren is, because Julian actually recognizes this potential infection by a contagious idea. And this is something that we have seen the Vex do before. We saw the Vex do this way back in Destiny 1 with the Ishtar Academy. This was the reason that they brought in the Warmind to help filter and scrub their brains when they were dealing with the infection, or the situation of the multiple instances of themselves. Because they will infect via contagious idea. We've seen this with the Vault of Glass. We've seen this with... this is a very common Vex-like thing. But Uldren, and I think this is telling too within this book, because Uldren pushes ahead. He ignores that. And if you think about that, that is going to be very important to remember, that he ignores the beginnings of the warning of an infectious idea, the contagious idea, because that's ultimately what we see what happened with him and Riven. This is how Riven gets control of Uldren. He infects their brain, or infects its brain. And that's where we come into contact with the Cabal Legionary, where basically Uldren sneaks up on him, and you learn that Uldren can speak Ulurant, which is the Cabal tongue, which I find rather interesting. But that's where the Cockney comment comes in. It's because the Legionary apparently doesn't even really try to fight him. He just is like, he's trying to basically, he's like, you know, he basically is convinced that he's in hell. And Uldren kind of gets in an argument with him, and then you find out that no, the Cabal didn't come here. They were actually abducted. They were actually brought here kind of against their will. And they have infected this Legionary with seeds, I guess is the best way to kind of explain this. And it's just like, and this is where the Cabal actually kind of commits suicide. He releases his helmet. So the thing with the Cabal is they can't survive without the helmet, because that helmet enables a pressure seal, because the way that their biology is designed, or the way their biology is, they have to have a certain pressure, and they also don't really breathe oxygen, which is not a surprise. But
they breathe rocket fuel.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sad.
That mission. That mission was so much fun.
It until the ending, where you're kind of like, I'm like, oh, I feel kind of dirty about doing this. But so anyways, he pops his helmet and he dies because he doesn't have his helmet on and he can't breathe. And then basically what you see is it says beneath the layer of gel, which is a ring of black gel, which is the basically the pressure rocket fuel gel. Beneath the layer of gel, the whole surface of his skull has the pitted texture of a strawberry. Thousands of tiny seeds glisten in the Cabal's flesh. Uldren brushes the skin in fascination. And this is where Julian kind of pops back in. He's like, I really don't like the expression on your face. Which is like one of the best things to say to somebody. And then kind of like, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what is going on with this Legionary, because Uldren makes a comment that they grew the secrets in him. And so it's like, okay, so are these seeds like and we had mentioned the plant with the microphybic roots. So it begs the question of like, what exactly are they doing? We do know that the Vex have an obsession with the confluence, which is basically making everything the same. So I mean, this might be a glimpse at what exactly that means. But like we just don't know. We also have like Julian kind of who gives a rat? I love it. Julian is like the pragmatist of the pair.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. But I mean, we talk about seeds the last one. We're going to talk about flowers in the next one.
Right. And I think that's the thing is like the Black Garden really, I mean, we've anyone who's played Destiny from like the beginning or who's played the original campaign in D1 has probably picked up on this. The Black Garden, everything that deals with the Black Garden is obviously going to be actually everything that deals with the Vex for a large part of it is going to be a plant like reference. Like there's a lot of gardening, pruning, and it makes, to a degree, it makes a lot of sense. But it does, like, even here we see that. We see, one of the weird things that they saw was the plants, the beetles in the plants. Now we're talking about the seeds that have been embedded into the Cabal's head. And Green, you're correct. After the Heart brings us to what Uldren brings back from the garden. And do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, actually, I love the asphodelias, which the asphodelia plant is also the plant that the Techians use to make queen's foil. That being said, the awoken people essentially use something that Uldren found in the Black Garden to make make our as well potion, so we can see and go into the Ascendant Realm. We talk about the hallucinations a couple cards back. That, in some respects, is also what this is. But he brings it back. The other things that you see that in this card that are a little interesting is that the queen's retinue, is a little afraid of him. They put up with him because he's the brother, but they kind of think of him as a madman. And Asphodelia there's a few references that match up with Asphodelia. There is actually an Asphodelia metal band, which is kind of cool. Rock on. And then Asphodel, which is where the Asphodelia name comes from. The root, there's an actual asphodel flower, and it's a type of lily. Now, flower language, fun thing, this means my regrets follow you to the grave.
Oh, flower language. That's a rabbit hole I have not been down in a long time.
So those are two fun little rabbit holes to go down. Maybe not necessarily the metal band reference, but totally the flower language reference to asphodels.
Well, did you, real quick, did you mention where the flower was supposed to be from, the asphodel?
Within the Black Garden, or the initial, like the original asphodel?
The original.
No, I don't. I don't have that off the top of my head.
It's the flower that grows in the Elysian Fields.
Oh, there you go.
So it's an immortal. Greek. Yeah, it's an immortal. Which, surprise, the Vex in Greek mythology. What? Yeah, and it's actually a really weird looking flower. Like it looks. I don't know. I don't think it looks a lot like a flower. It looks more like a corn stalk. But whatever. It's apparently, it usually has it's called long, it says long slender leaves and flowers borne on a spike. On a spike.
Yes.
Sorry, that's red versus blue.
No, you're good. Yep, I know. I just let you have your moment. But
yeah, so it's the field of Asphodel. Or the Asphodel Meadows is a section of the underworld where indifferent or ordinary souls who lived a life of neither good or evil are sent to live after death.
Yep. At the end of that card, Mara pulls Uldren aside and asks if he saw it, if he saw the Black Heart. So Mara is interested in what he's got going on. She wants to know everything that he saw because Mara loves information, and that's kind of the crux of her power is within information. But in After the Heart Part 2, he kinda goes in and discusses everything that happens. Mara's, like, asking, "Did you see the heart?" Like, it is something that she really, really wants to know, but, he can't exactly relay that information. His memories become confused. He was running through a thorny grove, and the branches and prickles were tearing at his cheeks. Huge wet fruit slapped against his shoulders and detonated in overripe pulp. So it's like, all right, you're in an actual garden now in your head. So their hallucinations kind of continue in this card when he was trying to remember, essentially. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else in this card that's super important. He doesn't really answer the question very well. But the way
Yeah,
he does answers,
this
the
is
Vex
the
infest the place. He gives them something they crave. It grows them towards what they want to be. It grows the Vex towards something they want to be, which is kind of like, all right, the Vex are growing both directions.
wait.
Into
The
the
garden grows into the past and the future.
mm-hmm,
Dun dun dun.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, this is also. Did you talk about the crows and the clothes dryer?
No, what? Where? I don't remember that line.
It's
Where is that line?
After the heart part 2.
Yeah.
He's sitting. So she asked him if he saw
Oh,
the
the
heart,
apartment block,
and yeah, he's like,
laundry room. Yeah,
yeah. He gets like he
yeah.
snaps.
He's
It
hallucinating.
I just love the fact that like this is a bad acid trip for Uldren. Like this is just it resurfacing, and like the explanation is he was in an apartment block. He remembers that he was sitting in the laundry room, a place with black and white checkered tile floor, watching his crows tumble over and over in the dryer, black feathers flurrying, beaks clacking. A big old female cabal sat in the tub to his left, scrubbing her back with a wire brush. A Vex goblin with the face of Alice Lee in its stomach stood behind the counter selling detergent. Uldren, she said, you've got a hole in you. The cabal grunted in agreement. He looked down at himself, and there was a hole in his hand, black and perfectly round. His dryer ran out of time, but his crows were still wet.
Yeah. So
It's like, wait, what? I had to read that like 5 times. I'm like, what just happened?
Oh my god, yeah, definitely. It's just like Uldren is just a mess. And the fact that he remembers this so vividly is both impressive. I mean, just it's impressive that he remembers as much as he does at this point with everything that happened apparently in his head with this. But that takes us to the Julian card.
Well, sorry. Excuse me.
Or do you want more?
The other thing is this is also where Uldren makes a comment about what the Blackheart does.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tripwire. So if you go further down into the card, Mark basically calls him out. He's like, you didn't answer the question. And
right.
He responds with, whatever the heart of that place is it's a seed, I think. A seed left behind to grow, like a node of glimmer, which that's interesting, or a tripwire, bait to attract those who seek out and destroy what they don't understand. And it goes on, it says, so that's the end of his quote, but then it goes further and it says, bait for guardians, bait to mark some milestone in the traveler's recovery. I'm like, that it doesn't confirm anything, first off, but it conforms with an idea of what I kind of personally see in the Black Garden. Is it's a tripwire, like exactly what he's saying. It's a tripwire that is going to activate the trap, because only when they get to the point where they have achieved that particular ability to destroy that thing, then it signifies to something that the you see this a lot of times in some of the like older science fiction stuff where you have like the defense of an intelligent design. They'll have like cedar colonies and stuff like that. And what they'll do is they'll do something similar. They'll have a tripwire component that, you know, once this species reaches X technology, whoever seeded that system will come in and quote unquote farm it. You know, that's a very common concept within science fiction. And so for me, that actually makes a lot of sense that they've kind of baited a trap to wait to see when this thing goes off. And now the question is, well, if that's the case, what's the trap that this was a tripwire for?
Right. We kind of get a little bit of his ideas of what he thinks it is in the next card. When we get to Julian.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I was catching up on chat. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, just talking about the different hierarchies.
Cultural reference or cultural influences.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and so this is where we kind of really get a really good look at Julian's character. Like
we also get I mean, we get Aldrin too still.
But. Right. But I mean, like, Julian, it really kind of puts Julian in, not necessarily a bad light, but it puts a light on Julian and kind of points out the fact that Julian really, not to be insulting to him, but he's really just simple. Like, he doesn't want complexity. He just wants to do his job. Like... He's
good at his job. He's good at
his right. No, but I mean that's what I mean. It's like he's good at what he does, and he doesn't want to do anything other than that. That's why he's probably good at what he does, is because he wants to do what he is doing. He doesn't care about it. He doesn't he doesn't care about the secrets of the universe or anything like that. He doesn't even really seem to care about secrets, which is kind of the splitting point here. Is Aldrin realizes that Julian won't keep secrets.
No, he won't hide anything. That's not a part of him.
No, and yeah, he's like, right, and near the end he says, as one of Aldrin's crows, he flies dangerous surveillance missions, but he is not a covert operative. His capabilities the profound truth of it hits him like a cold wind. Because Julian had just said, and I don't keep secrets. And Julian, Julian knows exactly where he was born, to what lineage. His capabilities as a marksman are public record. As one of Aldrin's crows, he flies dangerous surveillance missions, but he is not a covert operative.
No.
But he also is like, he's never claimed to be. Like, he is a sniper. Like, he does.
He's been the sharpshooter next to him the whole time. I mean, even, I don't know, this whole thing with Aldrin, once he, like, I don't know, he's been dreaming. He's been dreaming, recording his dreams. So we talk about Petra having dreams now. Well, Aldrin's been having dreams for quite a while. Poring feverishly through the Origin library, searching for confirmation of what his heart wants so desperately to be true. Keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
The future of the Awoken could lie in that garden. There is a wellspring of light on Earth, a blinding beacon that will only grow brighter. The Awoken will not survive, not as they are. Mara's vision and the truth of their origins will be lost, diluted by an anodyne philosophy of the city-born ideologies. The Guardians will kill everything they find. What if the garden is the traveler's antithesis? What if the Awoken can find the garden a new place of balance? And, oh gosh, this word. Equipotential between the darkness and the light. As the light brightens, the shadow deepens. Ulantan, anyone?
Yeah, I was just about to say, like a symmetry. Just real quick, anodyne is a word for something that does not provoke dissent or offense. It's also used to describe pain-killing drugs. So a pain reliever, a palliative, it's something that is dull, tedious, bland, just neutral, 100% neutral. It's not anything that's going to get anyone upset.
Here's something that I love about this paragraph, and I also hate. Aldrin has such confirmation bias all over this paragraph. Searching for confirmation of what his heart wants so desperately to be true. He wants the Black Garden to be important to them. And he's trying to find a way to figure out if it is. And he's going to connect as many dots as he can. So we did a whole episode with Purple about confirmation bias and just bias in general. And bam, there's another one just flat out. He's trying to find a way to tie those two together.
Yeah, and you also see too, following that piece, going back into, like, he gets interrupted in this thought by Julian, and you see now the stark difference between Aldrin's obsession and Julian's desire to avoid. Or it's not even, it's not, I mean, it is kind of avoidance, but like Aldrin is like desperately trying to dredge up every memory that he has about this place. And then you find out that Julian is like trying to forget everything. Like he's like, I don't want to remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He wants to keep the balance and go back to the way the things were. But once you see, you can't unsee.
Yeah. And then this is going to mark the transition point in the book from before to after the fall. So this is going to be, this entry is the turning point in the book. So everything up until this point was at an undisclosed time arguably before our Guardian. Well, yeah, no, it would be before our Guardian had gotten into the Black Garden and destroyed everything. Now we're going to talk about After the Fall, which is basically, it's the After the Fall, and then we have King. It's After the Fall, Kings, Fanatic, Part 1 and 2, Severance, Fickrell, Docking, Petra, and then Free, Part 1 and 2. And I know we're kind of pushing time, but really, honestly, the big thing here, I think honestly we did a pretty decent job of kind of introducing the summary here. And most people are going to be somewhat more familiar with this part of the lore, given that this is kind of, they did a much better job with this piece in integrating it into the story. So like
the main story.
There's some nuances here and some confirmations, especially in this particular entry After the Fall, that we didn't have within game. But after the Fall, starting with Kings, it's kind of, this was all kind of drip fed into the story a little bit, much better than we have had previous.
Yeah. Kings, it wasn't necessarily, because you don't necessarily know about his interaction with the King of Hell.
Docking of Craxus and stuff like that. Yeah. Like that piece, oh my God, that piece was it was so powerful. Like if you haven't read this one, I feel like we say this every time, and we probably do. You should read this one. This book really explains where Aldrin's coming from. Like, even
the Petra one, like he wants to quote unquote save Petra.
Her. He does, and it's just like, even with which I think let's talk about After the Fall real quick, and then we'll go to King. So After the Fall really is just basically confirmation and explanation of the scannable that we found in Warmind with the crashed Awoken ship that I just blanked on the name of.
It's in the Lost Sector on the southern part of the map.
No.
The Galliant?
Galliant, which is the tri-wing interceptor. When you scanned it in the Lost Sector, it basically Ghost mentions that it's Aldrin's. Like he's like, but it's got fallen stuff all over it. After the Fall explains why that is kind of there. And so really you see, so we had a mention in Destiny 1 in Grimoire that explained what happened after taking King. He crashed on Mars, and some crows found him and fixed his ship. But then he just vanished. Like no one knew where he was going until at the very end of, I believe it was Age of Triumph, we kind of see a we see him dragged in front of the what's believed to be the kings of the fallen. After the fall here, this entry explains kind of what happens between those 2 points. So the crows have fixed his ship, and he goes to get back into orbit, and the Cabal basically shoot him down again. And so now he has crashed into the basin. My understanding is that this takes place at the basin, because he's talking about like crawling up the edge of the chasm and, you know, all this stuff. And he has basically found a dead crow. So, okay, sorry. Clarification point. Crows, when we say crows, up until this point, we have been talking about the operatives, the awoken operatives. Crows are also a word that are used to explain drones that the crows operate. So these are like, the best explanation that I could get is the Imperial, from Star Wars, the Imperial scout droids, the ones from The Empire Strikes Back. At the very beginning, you remember the big one that's like the one that scans everything. That's pretty much the equivalent concept. Now, as far as aesthetics, I'm not sure where they fall, but as far as purpose, that is very similar.
Aesthetically, they look similar to like little bitty shanks.
Yeah, I got the feeling that they're much smaller. Because isn't there one where he like catches one as it's trying to fly past him or something?
Well, you pick them up. That's actually one of the collectibles. You take the dead crows essentially and then take them ashore.
Are those what those? Okay, so that's what those drones are. I gotcha. Okay, cool. So he's basically lugging one of these things around, and he's gonna try to use it to fix the ship. And so this is where he starts this is where you start getting the sense that he is starting to have these hallucinations. He attributes them to thirst hallucinations, but there is still there. This is also where he starts to kind of lose it. And understandably so. He's been kind of stuck in the back end of nowhere trying to struggle and try to figure out a way to get back to his people. And all he knows is that Mara is gone. Like, he has no idea what's going on. He has no idea who's in control, how many people are left. The last thing he knew was he got hit with something that threw him. I mean, I will reiterate this, that threw him from Saturn all the way to Mars, which is just mind-boggling, first off.
That's a lot.
That's a very powerful punch.
Does he start rubbing his eyes in this card? I'm gonna do a quick search.
Yes, this is where he starts. This is the first thing. He says there's something in his eye. He blinks and blinks, trying to rub it away, and as he does, he struggles to hear her, to sense that prickle of starlight under his skin. She will tell him he is on the right path. She will tell him she's still alive. He feels nothing. This is
our first instance of him having the...
Which I think, again, going up a couple paragraphs in here, you see, again, the desire, like the rage and the desire for his sister to be back. And then it kind of encapsulates a number of things. One of the things is the obvious chink that allows Riven to get a hold of him. And then also it comments on his view of the Guardians and his hatred of them. And it really boils down to, again, the Guardians destroy things that they can't understand. And the paragraph that I'm looking at right now says, "This world is a carcass now, the scars of the Guardians' passage. Cabal fortresses reeking of decay, littered with flesh and bone and broken armor. The shattered chassis of Vex littering the sands. A place of death and war. A war that tilts on the fulcrum of the traveler, brought upon it by the puppets of that traveler, that fulcrum of war." So, I mean, and again, remember here that the Awoken are all about balance. That's kind of one of their tenets, is that they are created from the balance of light and dark. So to see this from their eyes, this is something that is bringing about an imbalance, which kind of goes back to Green, what you were talking about with him doing research on the garden being like the next future for the Awoken, because he was like, well, maybe the garden is the antithesis to the Traveler, which is, then where you get the commentary about, as the light grows more powerful, the shadow deepens. That is this very symmetrical concept. But then again, the Awoken themselves are a symmetrical concept. We do, let me see, I don't think this is where we find, so this isn't where necessarily we find out that he's been basically tricking the Fallen. I think that was actually in Ghost Fragment Fallen 6, if I remember correctly.
In Kings, you mean?
Oh no, yes, it is in Kings. It is in Kings. Yeah, when they drag him before the Kell.
Yeah.
Because it makes a comment about like how he had been like purposely just leaving things around for them to find him. No, I think this was. I don't think this was it. Hang on, real quick. Let me just double check real quick.
Because the one here in Kings, he's dragged before the Kell.
Fallen 6 is Varric's, or
Yeah.
Sloan saying that. Never mind. Okay, what am I thinking of? Because there was an entry in which he made a comment about how he left hidden tricks for the Fallen to follow.
I don't think it was in this book.
No, I don't think it was. I think it was. I mean, yeah, Dino in chat, he's agreeing with me. It was an Age of Triumph entry. It's gonna drive me up a wall. While I look for it, if you want to talk about Kings, I will keep looking for this real quick.
Sure. So in Kings, he's dragged before the Kell of Kings, which is the House Kings, and he basically tells them that what he thinks of him. Petron is ruined, of a ruined house, the lesser of two siblings, bested by Skolas, blinded by Varric's less than Dreg, so Varric's is considered less than Dreg still, squanderer of fleets, last of the Awoken nobility, last of his kind, which granted, we know obviously he's not the last of his kind, but the Fallen, the Kell of Kings is very much so considering him that. But he knows he's desperate. He knows that a desperate man will do things that most people won't. So he tells Uldren, "You can do what I cannot. You broken, beaten thing. You have no pride. So you will lose nothing when you give the word that must be given. It is twilight for the Fallen, and we must lay our banners down." And to the groan and growled protest of its court, the Kell of Kings kneels to Uldren. "I bow to thee." It says, "For in thy downfall and disgrace thou bearest the weakness we cannot. Thou shalt tell the Elixni to tear off their banners. Thou shalt tell them that we must all surrender to each other. We must give up our revelries, or we will not survive. Wilt thou do this for one dying people, prince of another?" And Uldren agrees to it, essentially. He feels it in his heart that she is out there, that Mara's out there, and he agrees to this whole plan and basically thinks that this is going to help him get back to her in some respects, because he'll be able to work with the Fallen. Yes, he'll do the thing. Okay, here's my question for you, Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Does this mean that Uldren is considered King of Kells?
Well, okay, so loaded question actually.
I know.
Because
that's why.
Because what the Kell of Kings is doing is what the kings have always done, which is use other figures of power to further their own goals, right?
Yes.
And really what we're seeing here is a political kind of impasse that the kings have, because they're basically like, we are not going to bow. Like we can't bow without losing face. But if you were in charge and you told us to bow, then we won't lose face because we're just following our Kell's orders.
Mm-hmm.
But then later you see that he is a Kell in name, but not necessarily in actual fact. Because with, I think it's Petra, I think it's the next card. Basically,
Dramatic.
he tries to order a captain around, and the captain's like, "What? Who are you?" Like he basically is like, "No, I'm not gonna listen to you." And Aldrin's like, he kind of gets like little. This is where you kind of start seeing him kind of become more of the angsty, self-withdrawn figure that we see in Forsaken. To go back real quick before we go to there, it is Ghost Fragment Reef 4 that explains really the situation right up to the beginning of the card that we just read. This is the card that explains, or this is the Grimoire entry from Destiny 1 that explains that he had spent weeks weaving the illusion that led the Fallen to him. He had left. It says he left bits of his trail where they couldn't help but find them. He skulked from planet to planet, Mars, then Venus, then Mercury, then back again, following rumors and whispers. He'd hid from the Guardians, from his own people. He let everything they had built fall apart, while those still loyal to him searched every inch of this forsaken system. Now it was time to stop searching and start building. He would need soldiers who answered to him and no one else, bodies to shape with will and magic and tech to his needs. These would serve. He thought they would take him to a catch, but they were deep underground, not near the Cosmodrome, but it didn't matter. He'd never been particularly concerned with the geography of this blasted world. It was not his home. So he bent his head low and listened to the guttural strings of hisses and clicks issuing from the maw of a would-be king in yellow, a broken ruler of a broken house and the last of his kind. They were more alike than he cared to admit. When the creature's anger had burnt itself out, he raised his head to look at it. He did not need to speak. One Kell rises, and another bends its knees. And the prince felt the little hum of starlight ripple through him, the one that let him know she would be pleased with what he had done. So this is the Grimoire entry that kind of explains that entire situation that you just read in Kings from Aldrin's perspective. In a little bit more. Which will then kind of take us. So Green, your question here is, Aldrin holds the dreg strength that the Kell of Kings cannot come to.
Yeah.
The Kell of Kings cannot do. Like, and it's like, he's insulting him while promoting him. Like, it's weird here because you see the Kell say, like, you're a broken and beaten thing, which again, like what I just read, he had done everything to convince them that he was broken and beaten. He had wounded himself. He had cut his own face, all this stuff. And the Kell says, you have no pride, so you will lose nothing when you give the word that must be given. And this is where in game we see Ghost Fragment Fallen 6, which is where the Fallen have started burning all their banners and just disappearing. And so then you see the rise of the House of Dusk. You see this new house, this new conglomerate of Fallen, and then this is where the Kell of Kings kneels to Aldrin. And he says, in that, what you were just saying, in that downfall and disgrace, you bear the weakness, we can't. And so he is using Aldrin for the purpose of telling the Elixni to tear down their banners. Now, what I kind of get the feeling is happening is they use Aldrin to give the order to tear the banners and to surrender to each other. And then, once everyone has done that, Aldrin mysteriously is no longer in charge. Like he kind of like he's a proxy king that is there for one purpose. Once that purpose is done, the quote unquote true power takes back the throne.
Yes.
And chat's saying that right now. Krask is looking for a scapegoat. Like that's what he's doing. And I mean, he's not even hiding it too. That's the kind of the it's not even irony. It's kind of the interesting thing here is like he is saying that. I mean, the thing to remember here is that he is saying this in front of a full court. Like Krax is the Kell here. Krax is like just completely being like, no, you're gonna tell us to do this, and then we'll do it, and then we will survive. Like this is the weird honor sense that you get sometimes.
And then we get into his
Yes.
interactions with the fanatic.
Yes, but real quick, Hex, I believe, has a very good point with the Ripple of Starlight. Remember here that Riven is already present within Uldren. And so Hex makes the comment that, I think that the Ripple of Starlight is again a push from Riven, a kind of positive reinforcement when he is on the path she wants him on. Another trait that she has learned from the many years she has studied not only Mara and Uldren separately, but the bond that exists between them. I think that is spot on. I think that is a very good point, and I think that is most likely what is going on with this, at least in this situation.
Right. Using positive reinforcement instead of the constant berating that we see in the cutscenes. Although there's a few moments in the cutscenes where he gets kind of a positive reinforcement from her, but
right. Well, and I think
not often.
I mean, it's very Pavlovian, right? Is
Yes.
you do this, you get rewarded. A little light goes on, you're going to get hungry. That whole thing. There is a degree of truth to that, and so especially for someone who's broken and needs, whether or not he wants to admit it, he does need reassurance. He does need something comforting him. These little pieces of comfort that are conveniently packaged in exactly what he wants them to be. Green, you had mentioned this before, but he is very biased in the way that he takes things up. Mm-hmm. So he's already, he
wants to believe.
Right. And this goes back again to, you had mentioned earlier about like why it was weird that he didn't pick up on some of the nuanced quotes or phrasing that Riven was doing. It's like, because he's already convinced himself that it's not Riven. He's convinced himself it's Mara. He doesn't need to look any further into it. This interestingly enough is the dangers of preconceived biases is
right.
once you've convinced yourself that something's the truth, you're not going to be open to any idea. Like you're not going to be open to any possibility that it's not. Which actually does kind of nicely tie into Fanatic Part 1.
Yeah, I'm looking at the bottom part of the card actually. Do you want to talk about the top part? I'm thinking about when he yells out to Mara.
Yeah, so and that kind of, like I said, it's kind of ties into what we were just talking about with the positive reinforcement, right? Like she's been silent, like the entire thing, like all this chaos is going on. The light is like swelling so much, and I'm assuming that this is taking place during Age of Triumph because that's kind of what was described as what was happening there. And this also explains a little bit why the Reef was so silent after the Taken King and the events that led into the Rise of Iron and all that. Like the events of the Reef burning, like shattered, and like it's just explaining like shattered asteroids. The Red Legion is so this is taking place after Destiny 2's intro. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, I read the light this strong, but yeah, no, that makes more sense because the light would have returned. So he's talking about like the devastation of Oryx and the Red Legion having ripped through the Reef. Trog's Broken Legion, which was a D1 event in the Prison of Elders, and then now he sees Petra as this ironic. I find it ironic here too because Uldren has the exact same view of Petra almost that Petra has of herself. Like,
yes,
Petra is very self-aware of herself, and it's just
as
to
well
me
as
it's
her faults and everything.
right.
Else,
Yeah,
so
it's just very interesting to me because Uldren's like view of Petra is really actually pretty accurate. You're like, with everything else going on, he actually is pretty good at reading people. and like he's really good at like figuring out people's faults, which is probably why he gets away with half the stuff he gets away with. But he kind of is looking in. He's looking in to the Awoken reef from the outside, and he's just kind of noticing all these like just pieces of debris that is the society that he's left behind. And then he, I think, what is it? Oh, this is the callback to the beginning of Maracena, actually.
Yes.
Because he has gone outside of a ship. He is on a, a Corvette, the wrecked hull of a Corvette. And he kicks off the wrecked hull of the Corvette. And the reason why this is so kind of significant is this is exactly what Mara used to do before they were the Awoken. She would basically tether herself to the Yang Luwei, and then kick off the ship and like go as far as she possibly could with the lifeline. And then just kind of
tethering her.
Yeah.
Which Aldrin did with her as well. Just
yes.
not as far as Mara did.
He always got very nervous. But yeah, so anyways, so this is kind of him in a way trying to further reach out to Mara. And I think that's kind of up to where you wanted to take over.
Yes. So he shouts up to Mara, or up into the starlight, Mara. He's come too far to beg now. He's done too much. He demands her answer, which, granted, if you know Mara and Aldrin, that never works out because they don't speak to each other that way. They speak in questions. And that's something that harkens back to Maracena again. But let's see here. I'm not angry. I forgive you for sacrificing yourself to save them, but you must answer me now. Am I on the right path? Am I nearer to finding you? And so he's been doing all these different things. He's forced Petra to pull back, consolidate, focus on protecting the citizens instead of collaborating with Guardians. But is he any closer to Mara? Can he trust himself to do this? And he's always wanted to surprise Mara. Now that line there actually kind of makes me really happy because it shows how much that Mara she doesn't disregard Aldrin. That's not what she does necessarily. She just, I don't know if she views him as just like the little brother, the perpetual little brother. Huh?
She views him as predictable.
Yes, because Aldrin is ruled by his, I don't know, what would you just say, his desires? He's ruled by his wants?
I mean, like exactly this. He wants, it's a weird dynamic, right? He wants to surprise her, but she knows that he wants to surprise her, so she calculates his wanting to. It's like it's the age old I know you know that I know that you know. You know, like it's the where does that loophole end, because that's a painful one to keep saying. Mara is really good at playing the long game and taking into calculation, like, and you have to be right if you play a game as long as Mara has played with the eye as far out as she has, you have to take into account all the nuanced variables, because even it's the age old, like the butterfly wings on one side of the world creating the hurricane on the other. The very minute disturbance that doesn't seem to be important can over time grow into something that is very devastating. And so Mara is very good at keeping those variables in her awareness and calculating around them. So that's where like the importance of information and the importance of secrets for Mara kind of come from. And so knowing that Aldrin wants to surprise her, I totally see Mara as being the type of character who is like, I know that you want to do this, so I'm going to act like I don't know you want to do this to allow you to continue trying to do the thing that I know you're going to do, so that I can make sure that I have that calculated.
Right.
And that has got to be for Aldrin, like, I don't know. Yeah, well, it's endlessly frustrating. It's even more frustrating if Aldrin doesn't know that's what's happening, because he's trying to be, original. He's trying to be all. It sounds like I'm describing a really bad relationship, where the guy is trying to be really sweet to the girl and she's just really pissed at him. But that's not really the case. But I just realized that's kind of how it feels. Like he is trying to surprise her, and she already knows what he is going to do. That is rather infuriating, to deal with.
So the last thing he cries, "Sister, have you forsaken me?" And something answers. And that's where we start to see the actual interaction between Dark Mara and Aldrin. Now, you've had the hum of Starlight happening this whole time, kind of that positive reinforcement, but not strong enough to actually talk to him. But here, he actually gets a whisper. And this is Fanatic Part 2, just a quaver. "Aldrin, my rescuer." And he follows the voice. He's like chasing, trying to find her, essentially, like a madman. The violence of his thruster bruises his body down from the tumbling Corvette to the harnessed asteroid below, where shattered servitors and wreckage of shanks mark the site of a losing battle, Guardians ambushing a fallen party. So, I mean, he's trying to find it, and there it is, a fallen Archon crumpled in the dust. Ether hisses through entry and exit wounds cauterized by brutal solar flames. The mark of the golden gun. Aldrin hisses in disgust as he traces Guardian's footprints in the dust. They must have sprinted off together in a rush, no doubt to farm some other site where skiffs were coming down with mining parties. He triages the Archon's wounds. Yeah, I know. Call out to the fact that we just endlessly farm these stupid things that happen all the time.
I just love that.
Yeah. Let's see here. The victim is shaking now, trembling under Aldrin's hands. He wants so badly to do something, anything, to ease the poor soldier's passing. To have power, some say his sister had, to save just by proximity. Does he wish it? Does he wish to save this poor thing? He does. His eyes burn with sympathetic tears as he works to bind the Archon's wound.
Real quick. So this is where we see how the ether gets corrupted. Because his tears...
He wishes for it.
Well, he wishes for it, but his eyes, remember the darkness in his eyes that he's been rubbing, and then you were just about to read this, so I'll shut up here and let you read this next piece.
His eyes burn with sympathetic tears as he works to bind the Archon's wounds. His hands are quick and gentle, and he weeps with the strength of his hatred for the Guardians that did this. As tears stain the Archon's wounds, the ether rolling through Aldrin's fingers slowly grows heavier, darker, more noxious. He does not notice. Finally, he leans back to smear his knuckles across his eyes. Sore. They're always so sore. Under the unmarked helmet, 4 dead eyes open in wonder. The Archon croaks a word, a broken leftover of a dying hallucination, calling out to whomever he wanted to see, welcoming him to the afterlife. Dad? The fact that he uses dad there, not father.
It just kills me. It just kills me.
Oh my god. The Fanatic calls Aldrin father so much during the campaign. And then we just get it in lore as dad. I'm sorry. It makes me giggle, but also like, but Aldrin's tears, the whole corruption. Which, do you think part of the corruption is just Riven or part of the Black Garden stuff? Which I know that is a whole nother rabbit hole.
That is a rabbit hole. I mean, there's also, Trigger is also making the comment, like, residual from Oryx's blast. Like, there's a whole potential, like, cause of... I mean, I personally took it as, like, Riven because of the way that the cutscenes make it feel like that's where the signifier of how corrupted Aldrin is by Riven, especially with the final scene where you see him with like the pure, like the totally dark eyes and then they kind of clear. Like it's very, very obvious at that point what is going on with his eyes. And I think that's where, for me at least, that's where I kind of made the tenuous connection. I do see Trigger's point with, like, I mean, he did get hit full blast with a from the dreadnought, whatever you want to call it, from the dreadnought, which does come from Willbreaker. So there is possibly an explanation of like a residual taken. Which, I mean, if you want, you could even use that to explain how if Riven is taken and he's infected with taken energy, there is a connection there, depending on how far down that particular thought process you want to go. Or yeah, you could also argue that it is something within the Black Garden that has been festering within him. Though I don't subscribe to that one as much because of the time difference.
Because this is centuries later.
Yeah, this is,
or at least we could assume centuries later.
I mean, yeah, it's quite a bit of while, and if something was festering in Uldren for that long, I would imagine that someone would have picked up on it, like either that or like the speed at which this particular I don't even know what to call it.
Interaction?
Not interaction. It's the I am blanking on words. The particular symptom has been like the way, like if you just look at the speed at which it progressed. I mean, like,
right.
He was on Mars and his eyes itched, and now he's like his eyes are always sore, and that's, to me, that's a very quick progression. So if it was something from the Black Garden, it was either dormant for a really long time, which, I mean, that's also possible. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, but I personally always kind of took this as this is Riven, especially with the play on, does he wish it? Does he desire it? It wasn't until after he makes the wish that tears started to kind of corrupt and stain. So right. I kind of took this as like, this is kind of the way Riven manifests the granting of that particular wish. Though I do also find it very interesting that there is no phrasing. There's not a phrase trap involved in this particular wish.
Right.
Now, that being said, he could be because he's already trapped. So it's just,
I mean, the phrase traps, if we look back in the Reverie Dawn gear during the Great Ahamkara hunt, there was not necessarily phrase traps within those either. I mean, granted, Guardians are paracausal, so they can kind of overshadow that a little bit and not get as trapped. But a lot of them seem to just kind of wish it the same way that Uldren did.
Uldren does. I guess that's true. Yeah, you're thinking because of the Great Hunt scene.
Because I'm thinking of particularly like the one that had the tea party and talking to the mother.
Nadia or Shinobu.
Yeah.
And then there's also Wei Ning's.
Who just
I'm just gonna keep punching it.
Yep. Forever. All right, Wei Ning.
You've
got a problem.
I love Eris's response to that.
I know.
I just wanted what?
The only thing I wanted on top of that is I wanted Ariana 3's reaction to Wei Ning just wanting to punch things all the time. It's just like the wife off to the side, like, oh my God. Just let her do her thing.
Just let her do it.
Oh, it's so good.
So I know we're pushing time, but real quick, Severance is where we kind of get the conclude. So he saves Fickrell, but we don't know really what happens to Fickrell because the next card that we get, or the next entry that we get, is the Severance, and then you see kind of like this is where not the manifestations, but the audio hallucinations are really starting to kind of come more powerfully, and this is also a lead up to the cutscene that we had where he walks into the throne room and burns it down. or well, this is part of the logic of where, because it says basically the audio hallucination says, "Come home. It's time to come home and take your crown." And this is also where we get the sense that he is not the Kell of Kings, because he's on a catch and he goes and he yells at a shank, and I love how the description of this: a shank cast the sound into his ears. I'm like, that's really just an interesting. I love the way they describe that. And then basically he basically tells them to set a course for the Vestine outposts, prepare skiffs for he's rubbing his eyes this entire time. Prepare skiffs for camouflage insertion. We will put an end to and this is where a captain speaks up and he's like, "What are you doing? We're very happy with the way that the Awoken is, he's like, no, the Awoken are doing just fine screwing themselves up." And then also he points out, if we interfere, the Guardians are going to show up.
Right.
Which, hey, by the way, that's exactly what happens.
Which I'm glad that this whole scene happens, because they're going to go after Petra in this scene. He's literally plotting to go after her.
Well, and it's kind of the it's kind of the gut reaction. Well, okay, so to be fair, he overhears Petra conversing with the Cade, and I'm assuming that this is with the Barons. Actually, I kind of get the sense this is a potential situation with the Barons, because she says the targets are in the crater now. My teams are in blocking position. Whoever you've got, call them in. So this is where we might have a reference to Cade's 6, not Cade 6, but yes, the same person. Right. So this is also where we get that possible tie-in. To be clear, we don't know that. That's the feeling I had when I read this. But then, it's interesting because, it's not like he wants to.
He doesn't want to kill her, per se.
Yeah, to be fair, we don't actually get to the end of the sentence, so it might not be that he's saying we're going to kill Petra. It's because we put an end to Petra's, reign or whatever.
Meddling or something.
Yeah. And then of course,
kid.
And then of course the captain. You would have gotten away with it if it hadn't been for you meddling kids.
Mm-hmm. But gosh, yeah, Aldrin gets mad about this whole thing. Insubordination. She would never tolerate this. He plays it off, but he's pretty pissed about the whole thing. A new thing he fiercely wants.
As he gets a new desire, the itch in his eye resumes.
Mm-hmm.
So again, desire, and which again kind of was the reason why when you were saying that earlier about the tears, I just get the connection there just kind of hinges on this desire reward component, which to me makes it more Riven than anything else. Next up, we get we actually get Fickrell. Fickrell is basically, this is the explanation of Fickrell and Aldrin's relationship for the most part, but it also explains where the Scorn start really screwing things up for the Reef, because Aldrin basically is like, yeah, I'm done. It's like I was hoping to achieve it through the Fallen, but they're not playing the game that I want them to play.
Right. And
so then this is also where he kind of is like, carve out, basically Fickrell asks, what future do you see for the Awoken? And he says, and Aldrin responds with, they can die for all I care. And his justification internally was Mara was willing to destroy them for her purposes. The Awoken have no value at all except for in service of her design. If some part of them survives, it will be the worthy part. So you see this sociopathic expansion of what he believes Mara was doing. And I think it's a gross misunderstanding of what Mara was doing, because ultimately Mara seems to be doing what she is doing for the betterment of her people, even though understandably there have to be sacrifices made. The sacrifice, it's kind of the game of like, if I have to punish the few to benefit the many, I will punish the few to benefit the many instead of punishing the many to benefit the few, if that makes sense. Uldren does not see it that way. Uldren sees it as Mara has a plan, and that plan needs to happen, and that plan requires sacrifice, so just sacrifice everyone. And if it doesn't, if someone survives, then, you know, I guess they deserve to be left. Like, it's just like, it's very blunt. I mean, again, very Uldren, right? Mara's kind of the scalpel. Uldren's always been kind of the hammer.
Yes. And then
comes the fun card.
The docking card?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is where Uldren just like, I love the imagery that is like right here, because like this is Krask being docked. So for those who aren't aware of what that means, basically in punishment for things, fallen are like starfish. They can regrow their arms. Which is a nice little feature, except as a punishment, anyone who is Vandal or above, if they do something significantly dishonorable, they are docked. And what that means is they basically rip off the bottom two arms of that particular Elixni. And so what is happening in docking, the entry docking, is that Uldren and Fikrul are going to dock Krask, who is the Kell of Kings. And basically Uldren then, so the Archon of the Scorn Barons docks the Kell of Kings.
But I
get the feeling
he takes all four arms.
I was about to say, I get the feeling that he took all arms. Which is like, he
took all four of them and killed. Yeah. Yep. Because in 4 swift cuts, the Archon of the Scorn Barons docks the Kell of Kings. Uldren tears the house of Kings.
I see. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know, because like he says he doesn't. I know he doesn't kill him because he says the new Dreg's belt.
Yeah, and it's the kings are dead,
kings
like
are
the
dead.
house,
Right.
Which there weren't many kings left. We destroyed most of them back in D1.
Right. Yeah, and Trigger is correct. Yes. Another part of the docking process is that's where the docking caps, which, you know, that patrol mission that you have to run around and kill all those dregs for, those docking caps are literally caps that are put on the nubs that are left after they've been docked to prevent them from growing back. So, have fun doing that patrol mission now. But yeah, so this is basically the last of the kings has been put, which Varix makes a comment towards in his book Most Loyal, when you see Varix kind of be like, okay, Krask is pretty much the only Krask is gone. This is where Krask went. Krask is the Kell, was the Kell of Kings, and now he's just he's been demoted to a Dreg. And then after the docking, so after Uldren has taken full control of the remainder of whatever fallen were still following the kings and stayed with him, Fikrul and Uldren part ways. Fikrul goes...
For a little while.
Yeah, for a time. Fikrul goes to reshape the fallen that he can, and then also, quote, drawing certain useful elements, which I read that as the barons, to him. So Fikrul works and grows the scorn through the corrupted ether that he is now infected with from Uldren, and then Uldren leaves and goes back to the lonely search for Mara.
Scouting with the crows, scouting with a young corsair who wanted nothing more to be defined by her wrath.
Petra.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I think Green, you had mentioned that earlier in the episode. This is where we see Aldrin actually try to reach out to Petra. And I think he actually speaks to her. Right? No, wait.
So he finds her in Thieves' Landing. What is she doing here? Mara would never stoop to this, trading information with a criminal in the lowest of places. So she's basically Thieves' Landing in the Tangled Shore, and he talks to her. So few of us remain, he tells her, and in that moment, seeing the shame in her, he knows she is too far gone. She cannot be saved. So she's not talking back to him necessarily in this, but she does have an interaction with him.
Right.
And as far as the scorn and whatnot, whether or not they're actually around, Fickrell is out. As far as the scorn, do we know if there's much of the scorn out and about at this
No, I
point, or
think
you
this is the birth. This is the because
okay?
I think going back up to what I was saying is those are the certain useful elements because
Mm-hmm.
Fickrell is beginning. So it says Fickrell goes to his bloody work, reshaping fallen society the way a hammer
Yes,
reshapes a spider. So he's
smashing it.
yeah, I mean he's breaking it apart. He's forming the scorn, and then through that, then it further continues and says, and drawing certain useful elements to him. So I think this is where you see the formation, the starting formation of the Scorn, the alliance, if you will, between what will become the Fallen Barons or the Scorn Baron, the Barons of the Scorn, because I believe the Barons at this point are currently locked up. If I
That's
remember that
that's
correctly.
if the interpretation of Cade corralling them with Petra in the couple cards back,
Right, right.
if
So
that's the reference to the Barons. That's not clarified, just to be fair. It's just Cade and Petra working together, which Cade does mention. There's a mention of Cade's 6 capturing the Barons initially. So it could have been. It very well could have been, and meaning the Barons were locked up at this point. But that pushes us forward to free, which we are almost done. I think there's only 2 more cards
mhm.
left.
And
Do
this
you wanna
is the
talk
one.
about free?
This is where free is where Aldrin shows up at the dreaming or shows up at the Tetuans. I'm trying to remember. It's not in the Dreaming City, I don't think, right? Trying to remember. I don't.
I don't think it's in the Dreaming City, like, location-wise where this takes
No,
place,
it's
but
is that
it's Ilyn. Ilyn is
yeah.
the one that is speaking with them.
Wait, right, which is one of the Tetuans. So basically, Ilian is like she's trying to calm him down. Like I mean, I get the sense that Ilian is like trying to placate Aldrin. Like she's like, and to a degree, Ilian is also the almost like a mother figure. Really, she's like she's not trapped. I just hear like her voice being like she's not trapped. She's dead. Like she's just like trying to calm him down, and Aldrin's just
Mhm.
having none of it. He's just absolutely not having any of it. Um,
Right.
and it's
They're
just,
like it's
oh my
just like the
gosh.
whole scene from before where the retinue is just like, "Oh my god, you're crazy." Except for this time, he's kind of crazy, and they're treating him the same way he was treated before. But let's see here, come to finish it, he's trying so if he's come, he's is he at the Tangled Shore, or do you think he's actually gotten back to the Dreaming City?
I kind of
Because
took it as being, and like maybe at the gate or something. I don't know.
like at I could see that
The
more than
the
him being
reason I don't think he's in the Dreaming City is because he says, admit that you trapped my sister in the Dreaming City, not in here. Like, you know, it would just be something. The nuanced way of him saying that particular phrase makes me think that they're not in the Dreaming City, but I could be wrong.
And then we have the last card. Sorry, I'm checking stuff on the chat. They take him with full strike team and one of the snipers, joining Aldrin and his jailers at the extraction point. Looks him full in the eyes, like he's asking a question. A tall man with a long rifle, narrow, intelligent eyes, handsome. Is he? Did Aldrin want something from him once? Something important? Aldrin absently rubs his eyes as he stares at him. He frowns, but he can't figure it out. They take him to a discreet landing dock on one of the lower levels of the Prison of Elders. When his containment unit hisses open, the glow and mist silhouette an exo with glowing blue eyes, and a woman with her weapon drawn, Petra herself. She stands there in silence. He knows she wants to kill him. He knows she wishes him to say, "You've done well." She speaks to you. Her words are curt and direct. What does she say? Aldrin closes his eyes and lets Mara's voice wash through him. He is here in the heart of Petra's strength, in the prison she has so carefully tended as everything else falls apart. He is weak and he is bound. These are the strengths his sister never possessed, the endurance of humiliation, the survival of defeat. She says, he lifts his head to meet her gaze and watches her
I
flinch.
love this quote.
She holds him in her weapon's sights as she withdraws step by careful step. The exo steps forward to hood him with a black bag. She says, "Free me." But that is the final card of the book, where Aldrin is locked up, and you kind of see some of the different interactions he has with everything. And the saddest part of this whole last card is the fact that it's Joylon.
And he doesn't recognize him at all.
And he doesn't recognize him. That Aldrin doesn't recognize Joylon, his best friend. Just super sad. Tragic. And this book was meant to help humanize Aldrin, and I think it does a really good job of that. It also shows how deep into his madness he is, that he's forgotten so much of who he was, that can you really hold him accountable for everything?
Right.
But thus we end a very long podcast.
Yeah. I think it's worth it though, because
I do.
I mean, as much as ultimately a brief summary as this is, there's still a lot of questions out there about the character of Aldrin. And I think the other thing is that the important thing to remember with this character is that this is Aldrin. We don't know who he will be now that he is reborn as a Guardian. We don't even know if he's going to be known as Aldrin, to be fair. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think the favorite theory that I've seen out there is that he'll be known as Crow. But, you know, I find that interesting. But the thing with him is, like, this is all, even though Aldrin will now have forgotten himself 3 times or 2 times at this point, because he was aware of, for the most part, from what we can tell, aware of himself. Then he went through the trauma of having Riven basically take over his brain in this part, in the Forsaken piece. And now that he's been killed and reborn, he really has no recollection at all about any of this. So this also begs the question of how the Destiny universe is going to respond to something that has been so recently reset.
Mm-hmm.
Because now we're not just facing, you know, when it was a Guardian who was dead for centuries, it's one thing, because there's not a lot. I mean, there's no one left alive, right, that recognized that individual. So there's no potential awkward conversations, if you will. We did see some of that with Savin which is where some of the distrust and distaste for the Guardians that the Awoken have, or the Reefborn Awoken have, come from, is because Savin, this is exactly kind of what happened with Savin, is Savin was brought to the Reef, and his own family remembered him, tried to speak to him, and he had no clue who they were. No recognition. So seeing Uldren now being in the same place as Savin, I'm just curious. And Uldren is a much more prominent figure, right? Uldren is much more well known than a random meteorologist or geologist. I can't remember which one Savin was. But it's going to be interesting to see how people's reactions to Uldren, if we do see their reactions to Uldren. I think this is all good information to have, but ultimately the thing that has to be remembered is that at the end of the day, Uldren, as we see him in game going forward, is not going to be the Uldren that we see here. So interestingly enough, Uldren, through death, has shattered the chain that bound him to Mara. Now the question is Mara going to be okay with the fact that Uldren now has the ability to find out, albeit he's not Uldren. Uldren is going to define himself as not being bound to Mara, but now it's up to Mara to define herself as who Mara is without being bound to Uldren.
Mm-hmm.
And the question here is going to be the Mara figure, like Mara's character. How is she going to handle that? Because it's just, to me, interesting that of all the things that are going to be a consequence of him dying and being reborn, he might have finally gotten his wish and surprised her with something that she did not expect. But with that all being said, you want to do shout-outs?
Let's do it. And I'm sitting here thinking, I was like, okay, what do I have for shout-outs? Because I wasn't thinking about shout-outs.
Hashtag.
Let's
Pew,
say
pew.
I
Pew,
shout
pew.
out to all the subscribers for the channel because they are awesome. And those of you who come in and just hang out and chat with us and make live chat so much more interesting, because it's nice having active fact checkers while we're doing this, because we're fallible just as anybody else is. And it's nice to also have a healthy debate going on in chat the whole time. So thank you for showing up live chat. I love you. Thank you for all of those who subscribe to the channel and who cheer us on from the sidelines or listen to us on podcast. You guys make a lot of this you make it a lot more fun. I like talking lore, but I like talking lore with more than just Blue. No offense, Blue. I like talking lore with everybody. So finding new people out there who are definitely into the story, into the lore, into it in such a crazy way, and have specialties that are way beyond my specialties. Like I love my Awoken. I will study those guys. Scorn, I don't really care about. No offense to the people who love the Scorn. There are Exos, I don't really care about them. Sorry. But each of us have our specialties. So you teach us as much as we try to teach you guys, which is great. And my shout out goes to you guys this week. Blue.
My shout out is very much the same. It's mostly the community around everything. I know this past week there has been quite a few upsets, I think would be the most tactful way of saying that, with a couple of rather large names in various gaming communities. I know I've retweeted a couple of the things with the way people speak to other people. I think that is, for me, kind of a big deal, mostly because I have a 5-year-old who is starting to kind of get curious about, like, he's always been really open to meeting new people. And so I see people react to things like, I'm sorry, but if you are the individual who can't hold your tongue and you have a negative opinion based off the anything, I don't care anything of another person, perceived or reality. I really, you really need to take a step back and think about things, because some of the stuff that I've seen, not to get too negative here, but some of the stuff is just, to be blunt, unacceptable. Like, it's just, it's like, just, if you have to insult someone to make yourself feel better, you probably just need to take a breath, and work on it.
Step away and look at why you're angry, not necessarily
the one that is making the rounds right now. Is there is a pretty I think she's a Twitch affiliate. I don't think she's a partner at the point, but I think it's I want to say her name was Sam, I think. But she has made a name for herself by actually recording the things that are said to her and then making YouTube videos out of them. Which I'll be honest, as soon as I saw that tweet, I didn't subscribe to her on Twitch, but I have subscribed to her on YouTube, and I've pretty much tried to ping all of her social media accounts with follows, because I'm like, you know what? I don't understand that mentality that's required to get that way, and B, it's just not something I can. So this is me just basically being like, if you find yourself in a situation where you feel necessary to put someone down for something, for really anything, just don't. If it feels like an age-old idiom, but it's like, if you don't have something nice to say, just don't say it. I mean, there's no point to it, really. If it's not constructive, if it's not constructive criticism, don't say it. There's no reason. There really is no reason to.
A lot of the things that end up happening within her videos specifically is it's while she's playing a game. So
right, yeah. Well, and her situation specifically was when they found out that she was a girl. And the things that were said to her are, I don't know how. My hat's off to her, because that takes strength to listen to the drivel that was being thrown in her face and not break down. Like, some of the things that she had on there were it's disgusting is what it is. And, for what it's worth, I think I've said enough on that one. So yeah, guys, it's really simple.
Be good to each other.
Yeah, just be kind. Or not even be kind. Just be polite. Be respectful. I completely get it. I don't like people, but that's, honestly, if I don't like someone, I'm not gonna I don't curse them out. You be polite, be mature, and just get on with it. Here's the thing. Find something that you enjoy doing. If that's video games, do it. Play all the games you want and enjoy it. But if you play in a game and it makes you mad, don't do it. Don't play it. That's not the point of video games. Video games are meant to be enjoyable, right? That's the entire thing. That's why, honestly, ironically, that's why I don't play a lot of video games, is because I actually find more enjoyment in analyzing them and talking to people about them. I actually don't really, I don't enjoy playing video games in and of themselves. I enjoy the conversations that playing video games creates. So, that, just find what you enjoy and do it. Do that. So yeah, that's my shout out. It's just like, keep promoting that, keep being positive, being respectful. And I've seen this a lot, but if you are in a live chat and someone is saying stuff like that, for all honesty, call them out on it. Just be like, hey, that's not what we're here for. Let's not talk like that. You don't have to shame them. Don't shame them, but for just really be honest, just be like, don't do that. Why are you doing that? There's no need for it. And so, but big shout out to everyone who's having to go through that stuff. It's sad that is still a thing in today's world, but stay strong. If you guys ever need a community that, you might not know about the podcast, but if you're listening to the podcast and you're here, and someone who's dealing with that, know that we don't put up with that in Focus Fire. Any one of our community members in the chat could back me up on that. That's not allowed in any of our sorry
Discord at all or anything like that. Yeah.
We get carried away and we make fun of each other, but we only make fun of each other. I don't make fun of random people. I only make fun of my brother. and green. Like I'll tease them, but
Yeah.
there's a difference between and there's a difference between, you know, good natured teasing and actually insulting. And so just be kind, be gentle, you know, be respectful of people. That's all you can do, really. So, but yeah, I know that's a bit of a long-winded shout out, but that's been something that's been kind of gnawing at me for this past week, is just because it's been percolating a lot this week, and it's just kind of bugged me. And I felt like I needed to say something, because I know our community doesn't have that particular problem. So I want to tell our community who is still listening here, if you do know someone who needs a safe haven from that particular problem, bring them to us, because they can talk all they want, and we aren't going to, that stuff is not permitted, I guess. Our mod team is amazing at making sure that doesn't happen.
For sure.
So, that being said, we'll run through our standard outro, and we'll probably stay around for a bit of a brief after show.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about
Yay,
that.
after show.
That's been like, been dealing
I
with
saw that pop
nonsense.
on Reddit the other day.
And I saw that and I was like, I don't normally want to punch someone in the face, but I actually want to punch some of these kids in the face, because some of the things that were being recorded were just, I'm sorry.
Can I just tell you, that's the reason I never played Call of Duty.
Oh, well, that's the reason I never played Call of Duty, and I'm not a female gamer. So
I played once on my brother's console back when I was in college. It's like, oh, it's a first-person shooter. Okay, it's fine. I'm playing like Borderlands at the time. I can do this. And nope, didn't even make it through a whole game. I was just like, all right, that's not a type of community I want to be a part of. Thank you. Part of the reason I like how Destiny's community is set up, as well as the choices, whether or not you can hear enemy combatants in game. But after show.
Oh yeah, so I saw earlier, I think it was it Hex, or was it someone was asking for gamer tags for Xbox.
Hex has mine, actually.
I was about to say, if you see, granted, I don't play Destiny 2 quite a lot. I'm usually playing Halo 5 with my brother, to be honest. That's pretty much the only time I'm on. But if you do see it and you want, shoot us a message. I mean, our chats are pretty, like, when we're gaming, our chats are pretty inane. Like, we don't really follow, like, we have even less cohesion than what we normally do on a podcast. And it's mostly Ben and I screaming in panic, because we're usually playing laughter. Yeah, we're usually playing Warzone, which requires Ben to get run over by like 3 teammates at least once a game. It's hilarious.
Can I request something for if Hex and Star are still in chat, because I've been gaming with them like this past week a little bit, since I want to show them Justin's shoutcasting.
Oh yeah, you want me to play it?
Yes, please. Okay. Here's a little explanation for this. This is a host that is currently on hiatus because life is busy, and he is after dark. So he's fucking hilarious. We're not recording or anything, so I can curse a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's shoutcasting this game that Blue's brother and I are playing, and it's Speedrunners. And was Justin actually playing with us, or was he just watching?
he had been playing, and he basically his reaction was "fuck this." He was not having any of it.
This was also the same night that his computer decided to change his voice.
Right. There's a longer story there as well.
Yeah, but it's great.
Speedrunners. Yep.
This is great. Just wait.
Let's see if I can find it.
I'm surprised you don't have it on speed dial at this point, because of how much it gets requested.
Because, it's one of the longer ones, so that's the reason why. I have it pretty. So
Justin was trying to. Yeah, it's the chipmunk one trigger. Justin was trying to lower his voice doing kind of a Bane accent or Bane tonality. Because what was he recording? Was he?
So the entire thing, this entire situation happened because we were doing a campaign run on stream, and for some reason Justin thought it would be funny during one of the scenes with Gaul to voice over Gaul in Bane's voice.
Oh, right.
And so Heather was in chat, and she made the offhand comment, which is how all these bad ideas start. She made the offhand comment of, "Oh, you should redo the entire campaign with Gaul as Bane." So of course we were like, "Oh, that'd be really funny, ha ha ha," and we just moved on. Justin, little did we know,
downloaded a voice
did not
modulator.
move on. Decided that he was going to do this. Fast forward, the voice modulator didn't work.
It went the other direction.
Hashtag.
And I can't remember.
Pew pew. Choo
thanks.
choo.
I can't remember if. Oh, God damn it! Where is this?
But yeah, it is loud, especially to start with. But yeah,
I am really.
the other
annoyed
things that
this
ended up
doesn't-
happening is he sang Little Mermaid in
which
his
is
own version,
amazing.
as well as
Firefly. No,
Firework.
Firework.
Firework
Which
by
is
Katy
that
Perry.
is fucking.
I'm well, okay, we're dying during each of these songs he's singing because he's actually a really good singer. That's the funny thing.
Here it is.
Got
Okay.
a nice voice, but man, this whole evening was
couldn't
crazy.
talk. He couldn't talk for 2 days after that
It
because
was
of
great.
the firework. He broke his throat because of that. All right, here's the shoutcast for the speedrunners. Oh yeah, okay, it was the voice.
I can't hear anything.
Oh.
Double hook fries, bitch! Oh no!
Right, hang on. I think I did.
Oh
Hang on. All right, you can't hear it?
No, can you guys hear it? Because you guys are the ones I'm most worried
here.
about.
Okay, here. Let me start it over. Let me know if you can hear this.
no! Be like, oh nice, bitch, coming back.
There it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
shoot her with the laser beam, and then Blue Sperm Man's getting in the lead now. He's jumping with the grapple hook. Oh! Double grapple hook fries, bitch! Oh no! Ice bitch is so fast! Oh no!
Tiny screen.
Cool Runnings is in the lead. Lead must be awful because she's nowhere in sight.
Oh no!
Ice bitch got ceilinged. Unicorn bitch is in now. This mixes it up. Someone's feeling horny.
Oh my!
Saucy. Ice bitch. Oh, the double grapple hook from Ice bitch. That was bold move, Cotton. We'll
Bold
see if it
move,
pans
Cotton.
out. Oh, Ice bitch with the double headbutt. Blackface. Oh no. Unicorn bitch in second place, and she is horning her way into second.
Pulling
that old
away
horn
in the
dog.
second.
Oh, that old horn dog. I can't believe her. Takes one to know one, Cotton.
No! I went too
Unicorn
high.
bitch in the lead. Ice bitch in close pursuit. We'll see if the face laser comes into account. Oh! Like Icarus! Flew too close to the sun and her wax wings melted. Oh, Cool Runnings running for the boulder, Indiana Jones style. Oh, double grapple. Oh, the triple grapple. Block face, turbo boost. Cool Runnings has a comfortable lead, but he proceeds to hit every block. Oh, the boulder. The boulder, Ice bitch. Right on Cool Runnings' heels. Cool Runnings doesn't jump. Hit the block. Double block. Oh, now it's the double, triple. Oh, wall jump. And the boost. Both Ice Bitch and Cool Runnings are taking a similar line. Ice Bitch with the boost and the fart. Oh, no. Ice Bitch in lead with the grapple. Long grapple from Ice Bitch this time. She means business today here, folks. Oh, taking a commanding lead is Ice Bitch. And Horn Bitch comes up right next to Cool Runnings. There is a tight race for a second. The triple grapple. Oh, no. Flaming. Oh, hit all the things, Ice Bitch. Hit them. Don't worry about it.
Blue.
It's a fucking yard sale in second as Cool Runnings just tries to keep up.
this is Rose. Have you never heard this? This is actually something that happened probably about a year ago now.
The best part is that he's shoutcasting on air using Stream to shoutcast.
Because he can't see any of our feeds, so it's all delayed.
He's running 20 seconds behind all of us, which is throwing everyone off.
Best line in chat tonight. When you whisper to the void, does it whisper back? Nope.
This
happens. Yeah. Oh my god. It was a great
then,
night.
This is the other one.
Listen to Justin. Oh god.
The sea on the fish is better, and the thing in the stuff is great. When you go to the sea, it's better, cause you be on the fucking plate. When you go to the sea, it's really cool. When you go on the land, it's fucked. When you go on the thing, it's real stew. But you don't know the way you are, cause under the sea. Darling is better. Where it is wetter, take it from me. Up on the land, they work all day. Up on the sea, they're fucking lazy.
Up on the sea, they're fucking lazy. And then final one is the firework.
Uh-huh.
Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind, wanting to start again? Do you ever feel so paper thin, like a house of cards, one blow from caving in? Do you ever feel already buried deep, 6 feet under screens, but no one seems to hear a thing? Do you know that there's still a chance for you, cause there's a spark in you. You just gotta ignite the light and let shine. Just turn the night like the 4th of July. Cause baby, you're
Jay can't even move.
You don't have to feel like a waste of space. I'm kidding. No, who knew that there were this many words in the song? Jesus Christ. I literally thought the only parts of that song that existed were parts that were in Madagascar 3. Jesus.
Jesus. She wants an audio clip, Blue.
I want him to be my best friend.
I cry every time I listen to that.
Oh, and then there was this one that I do have on the deck
Oh my
clip.
god.
Are we gonna have problems, motherfucker?
Right.
The best part, so the best part of this was the fact that for like the first 15 minutes that he had this thing on, he legitimately didn't know that he had it on. Like
he had no clue.
And we thought he was jacking with us the entire time. Justin is our best beam.
We had to actually have one of our community members like remote log into his computer to remove all of it, so his computer would be fine. Oh my god!
This is the other one that I have from that.
Gonna find my baby, gonna hold her.
Oh my god!
Gonna grab some afternoon delight. My motto's always been when it's right, it's right. I wait until the middle of a cold dark night when everything's a little clearer day. And we know the night is always gonna be there ready.
What was that?
Thinking of you's working up my appetite. Looking forward to a little afternoon Like rubbing sticks and stones together make the sparks ignite, and the thought of loving you is getting so excited. Sky rockets in flight. Afternoon
That
delight.
part still kills me, even though I know it's coming.
Yeah. And the thing is his like he has like the worst internet, or had the worst internet with this. So it would cut out randomly during his songs.
Well, and then also every now and then the volume would gatekeep itself.
Yes. That too.
Oh yeah, then there's
Eugene, okay.
Do you have that one song a certain person hate? Oh no, not the Payan song. No Trigger. Bad Trigger.
Payan song. I don't know if I have.
This- I don't know if Justin's recorded it, has he?
I've gotten pieces of it.
Please stop scaring my cat.
I'm trying to remember
I don't even think we have
I have
Justin's
the-
and Eyes.
I have the. Oh no, I do. The rap
You
battle.
have the rap battle?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
fuck.
I have the rap battle. I'm not letting go of those things.
Jesus. I need to
The
do something again with them.
the iguana versus snakes.
Oh my god, that is great! You need the video though with that.
Yeah, you can't just listen to it. It's like, oh yeah, and this one.
I just saw it. It just me. It just did it again. It just did it 2 times.
Uh-huh. That was beautiful.
Fuckiest thing ever. It just did it for no reason. That is so stupid.
That was when his internet kept muting him randomly.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, I just saw it just mute. I was like, oh my god, I'm keeping that.
I
sent,
sent
and then his
Ray.
Bife
I
sign
sent
off.
Star the video. Oh my god, the Bife sign off. I
Paradasia
sent-
adasra. See you, star sign.
Bife was so mad at him for doing that shit. I think he's still a little sore with Justin
be-
for that.
To be fair, Bife and Justin exist in kind of a love-hate relationship.
They really do. They really, really do. Oh my gosh. So, Star,
have you
I
heard-
sent you the link to the video of Justin.
which YouTube like refuses to let me put on. Have you heard the giraffe fight one?
I don't know if I've heard the giraffe fight one.
All right, there we go.
So no, on a completely related note, have you ever seen giraffes fight?
Oh, I
Yes.
was there for
terrifying.
this.
It's fucking terrifying. Holy shit.
Oh,
If they
God.
miss, they'll break their neck.
Yeah. Flexible.
Kind of a bold strategy, giraffe.
It's giraffe yoga. They do lots of giraffe yoga.
I just love that if they miss, they'll break their neck.
It looks like they're trying to play golf with their heads. Because they just go, "Ugh." And I'm like, no.
I love the
No.
opening. And on a related note, have you ever seen a giraffe fight? I'm like, what the fuck is this connection?
Oh, do you have Bandit 1 when he did it with Bife? I don't know if we have that on like a short clip.
I probably do. I'd have to look for that one. Hang on.
Oh, you finally you watched it? Oh yeah, it's so good.
Oh, the
so
iguana
good.
snake ball.
It's like a Jerry Bruckheimer film.
You know what? I don't think I do because I don't think we.
It was on the episode with
Yeah,
Bife.
it was the episode. I don't think we had that recorded separately.
Did we put it up on YouTube? We
Yeah, the actual episode is up.
We could probably rip it from
Like when
that.
you kill
if we
the
needed-
sword bearer in the Corazin raid, I expect someone. He dares that.
So the have I made you listen to the Outlast audios that I got from him?
No, I
Okay.
don't like that game, but
Okay.
sure, let's go for it.
So this is the he sends this to me and he's like, don't ever call the police station and play this. And I was like, okay, that's a really weird disclaimer for this clip. But it's like, then I listened to it, I'm like, no, that's accurate. Like, this is the sound of someone like running for. So for those who don't know, Outlast is a survival horror film or game.
Yeah.
Oh, looks good, Blue. Oh, shit. Okay, so... Ah! No! No! Ah! Jump! Jump! They can see things! Shut the door! Shut it! God damn it! Okay. Bullshit! Oh!
Oh my gosh. I think you may have played for me for once. It's just like, oh my god, Justin, you're such a drama queen. It's like the night we did Rockets on fucking Halo.
Oh, you mean the amazing video, the amazing version?
Oh my god, he was so like loud that night. It's
Oh,
oh my god, Justin.
He was not happy.
No.
Oh, there's my Portal songs.
Oh gosh. I need to rearrange some of my folders. Because, you know, that's normal.
Okay, let's see. Boop, boop, boom, boom.
Payne's the only sun singer with a beard.
Payne's.
Was that Pens?
The only what? Oh, sorry. So many things.
You
so many
definitely
things
heard that
there.
properly.
Yeah. There's so many things there. That comment's like an onion. There's layers. First of all,
Not parfait. Not like parfait. It's like onion.
oh, it's like an onion because it stinks. Something's rotten.
You could hear the bank.
I was typing something, so I was wondering, I was like, yeah, Payne got beard and he's a warlock, and apparently the sun's yeah, what?
Yeah, it sounds like Willie.
Yeah, that was weird.
Okay. Julian.
Okay. Save that. It's for the
Oh my god. I just love because we were getting ready for an episode, and I'm like, you know, you hear me like boop 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 boop, and then out of the blue, Willie just goes, "Pan's the only warlock with a beard." Nothing else. No, and like it's just like you almost like I'm like, because I wasn't paying attention, and yeah, you can hear Justin's brain just like, like.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Well, anything Willie said about Payne was just like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's no fucking character named Payne. Oh, the meme that just won't fucking die. Night Star.
Yeah,
they're in Florida.
I need to do that as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Yep.
What's the raid boss one?
I don't know.
Yo, real FFC shit. Squad.
Oh, this is the rap battle.
Do you want to listen to that?
No, I don't.
Because, I mean, we'll have to listen to yours, too.
Yeah, that's why I don't. Thank you, you three.
Oh,
Sleep well.
What's that? Hex, Star, and...
Raz. Although I think Raz dipped a little while ago.
Twuwav.
Yeah, they're sweet. Trigger, have you never heard the rap battle?
Have you never heard the rap battle?
Oh, God.
We'll play Justin's part because he's not here to defend himself.
Okay.
Yo,
Real FFC shit. Wizard Squad. Shadow White. In the house. Yo, Justino is a mastermind. Talk some lore to pass the time. Need a chronometer to check the Pericles ways he writes and rhymes. Cause these are trying times. You other MCs just don't have it. The magic is tragic. You just plain rap bad. He'll show you what the hurt is. Like Shaq shirtless. That's why I like Gap bad. Just insane, you know the name. The one that drove Blue Crew insane. And you think it's just a game. I sneeze better rhymes than most of you. I'm the shit like what you used to get from Rahoo. Whatever you said, I said it. Whatever you read, I read it. On Reddit, your Twitter game is pathetic. 100 posts and you still can't gain traction. Penny for your thoughts, now that's a microtransaction. I got the keys to the game. Hope they remember the name. Haters at a loss, haters at a loss. Like a raid boss. No, they jocking my style. I hope they see me for miles. Why be a yellow bar when you can be a raid boss? He's the bringer of puns and shenanigans. He's the one who broke Beard Grizzly, isn't he? Well, now I've charged my superfragalistic expialidocious. Here to show you what hip-hop is. Hope you can take notes, kid. A rude boy from Texas. All of his exes are vexes. The joke to blue Batman he flexes. The debonair, may care, bassoon playing pariah. Way to prilosec because everything he spits is hot fire. Came all the way up, now we're telling ghost stories. Went down a rabbit hole with a radio to see if they had some fun. Well, we all know the Ishtar Collective soul stole the show. So we pop loot boxes and bottles up to the unknown. No, got the keys to the game. Hope they remember the name. Haters at a loss, like a raid boss. No, they jocking my style. They see me for miles. Why be a yellow bar? I got Pins Halo in my corner if it's trouble with my computer. If it's a bug hunt, then he's a starship trooper. My flow is uncommon, it's rare how I spit. All of my dances are exotic, let's see how they fit. Orange, you glad I came to play? To hear the things I got to say? That lone podcaster with the gift of rhythm can't even hit anti-disestablishmentarianism. I'm a killer, yeah. And I'm so pretty. Raid balls. Did you even think? Why be a yellow ball? Be a raid ball. I got the keys to the game. Hope they remember the name. Haters at a loss, like a raid boss. They're jocking my style. They remember for mine. Haters at a loss, raid ball. Baklava with vegetarians. My gift of gab is also scary, friend. If you was looking for more of my flow, there's none more of me. There will be no DLC, you know.
Oh my god. He made that such a... Like, we were supposed to do 30 seconds to a minute. And we did the whole fucking song. And I'm like, well, shit.
Well, and the other thing that you guys did wasn't that the one that you did the word challenge? Like, you had to specific
have
words?
Yeah. Uh-huh. We had to have certain words that the community picked for us in the songs.
Super fragcalicious. I was like you got that in there? Like,
he's just brilliant. And also brilliantly crazy.
Yeah. But on that note, I am going to call it a night because I think I'm going to be... my wife got food poisoning, so I have a feeling I'm going to be on minion duty tomorrow.
That stinks. I miss Justin Two Rose.
We all do.
Night, chat.
Oh, man. All right. You guys have a great night. We will see you. Just a reminder, we will have 3 episodes dropping this week. So we'll have the top 3 we'll have this episode dropping on Monday, and then we'll have the top 3 dropping on Wednesday, and then the extra special episode for the Valentine's Day dropping on Thursday, which I believe is Valentine's Day, right?
Yes,
Am I not?
I believe so.
Yes,
that
Thursday.
Is correct.
And then on the 15th.
Because we are going to drink stout that night.
Oh, nice. And then on the 15th, we will be doing the debate over, or not debate, but the conversation about morality on Guardians, which will actually be a nice little transition into those. Well, because the relationship hitting that day before, I think that'll be a nice little lead up to that conversation.
That's true.
Pretty full week. Hope you guys are having a great start of the year, as I know some people are, some people aren't, but I hope you are, and we will see you guys next week.